Welcome back to the Eclectic Soundtrax podcast with Skunk Manhattan and Victor Ramos. Today we sit down with Omar Mousa. Omar is a filmmaker based in Austin, Texas. We talk about films. Skunk goes on a couple of rants, surprise. And we also talk about Omar's passion project for the last few years. It's a documentary about local Austin musician Izzy Cox called Fighting the Devil. Enjoy the show. Omar Mousa, right?
Yes, sir.
And that's okay. I got the pronunciation right.
You got it.
We were talking about The View before you popped back on and how much.
Well, we already interviewed Omar for about 10 minutes unsuccessfully before there was a crash. But
That's true. Yeah. That was the other part of it. While we were waiting to set everything back up, we started talking about news reporters.
Okay.
Who do you think is the hottest newscaster, Omar?
Oh, shit. As a female or a male?
Both. It's a lot of attractive ones.
Ron Burgundy for the male, for sure.
Oh, Ron Burgundy is definitely.
Yeah.
I don't know. Nothing in the top of my head, actually. I watch a lot of random international news. Like I would just put on the TV and literally watch a lot of random international TVs and news. So I don't know if I can name anybody. I don't know.
I don't know the names, but I just know that the weather girls for most countries
right?
are pretty on point.
Yeah.
Except for like the Scandinavian, like Finland or something, it's always a dude. But like you have Mexico.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of guys. There's so many, there's news stations here, and it feels like each one of them has 15 weather people. I swear I tune in and it's like more violence in the U.S. and horribleness and death. And then it's and now the weather. And there's 15 different weather segments from
Well,
I guess they have to have
I think the weather part is the entertainment part in the news nowadays because it's totally shitty. There's nothing good to talk about. So, hey, let's entertain these people with a little bit of weather shit.
Well, they've got, if there's an attractive female, Vic and I are entertained. You know, it's funny because I talk about this, I'm saying this in the same sentence. And when I talk about this with my fiance, who, if I was watching the weather with her, I'd be like, ugh, look at that gross lady. But I'm like, but the thing with the Austin weather, so she's from Chicago and I hate hot weather. I have skin issues. I can't even mow the yard without breaking out in hives. And it's
you're very reflective. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm total, Irish Norwegian blood and I'm just allergic to sun. And so I don't like hot weather, but I love Austin. Texas there's a lot of great things about Texas, but the heat, man, the snow that just happened was so great. Anyway, this guy came on one night, and so we love just talking shit to the weathermen when they're like, it's a beautiful day at 85 degrees. This fucking asshole comes on and he's like, I don't like this guy now because of this. And I just don't like him. I won't call him out, but he comes on and he's like, it was 96 degrees. And he's like, great day for mowing your yard. Who says that? You psycho? Anyway.
Oh, but
I'll get off that.
And then we got into we couldn't remember any of the the newscasters, but we were talking about some of the older ones. You're old when you see some of the older newscasters and you're like, yeah, she's pretty hot.
Well, it just makes me wonder.
Yeah. But then we started talking about, anything's better than The View. And we're just like, oh, God, that thing's a dumpster fire.
Yeah, I think you think she's hot because she makes you feel younger because you remember it's 1995 and it's oh shit, that makes sense. I think I'm a little more fresh right now.
What's weird is see, I wonder when you think back, right, and you're a kid. Well, you don't want to watch the news when you're a teenager probably anyway, right? You want to go party or do whatever, and it's but you're newscasters are kind of old. Maybe there was probably always that one lady that we were man, she's pretty hot, or that one teacher or whatever. But then I wonder as you get older, is it just a thing where you're just there's some chick who's 50 years old and you're yeah, you know what I mean? I don't think it's just age, right? And so you're what? I don't know. This is dumb, Omar.
Well, I mean, we were talking about.
It's not dumb. That's what everybody talks about. Yeah, God damn.
Wasn't on the last podcast. We were talking about. People that were in their 50s that were still hot, like Salma Hayek, just incredibly hot.
Right.
She doesn't look 54 or something like that.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Hurley.
There's
I mean,
something
you
wrong
just
with
sent me
these
a
people,
picture
man.
of Salma Hayek. Dick, was that you? Somebody just sent me a picture of her recently. Was that you? Since we talked about her.
No, was not.
Oh yeah,
me.
what a coincidence! Because I was just like, "Damn," and I was like, "Oh, that's Salma Hayek," and she's like, "Yeah, she's like 80 years old and still super hot."
Linda Carter is still pretty hot. The OG Wonder Woman, right?
You know, I think it's doable nowadays. I have worked with multiple folks in Austin, Texas, and they talk about neuroscience and new ways to reverse age and to preserve a good skin throughout time. So if you take care of what you're eating and you avoid smoking and drinking, I think you can go like until 60, 70 and you can still look good. Even in the 80s, if you look 60, that's pretty awesome. And the point is it's not about how you look. I think if you just remain healthy, that's the point, right? If you get up in the morning and not feeling shitty and you can sleep good 8 hours a day, that's pretty fucking awesome, dude. Right?
Yeah. Man, I wish I could sleep a good 8 hours a day.
I can. Everybody's struggling with sleeves, man. I have a bottle of melatonin and it's about, I looked at it today and I was like, oh shit, I have about 10 pieces left and I don't know what to do. So I'm going to try to find melatonin around here, but everybody struggles with sleep. So.
How does that CBD stuff work?
Oh, it's great.
Have you tried it?
Yeah, there's I order some nighttime CBD caplets from a place called Santa Cruz Medicinals, which if they ever listen to this, hey, hook us up. But anyway, so they're CBD infused nighttime caplets, and they, they're just, you wake up, your bones aren't aching, because you get older, you start aching in places. But, like in 30 minutes, I just get really sleepy, really tired, and then I'm out and I have like some really crazy dreams. So that means I'm getting some deep sleep, right? Mm-hmm. So that REM sleep.
And you remember your dreams?
I do at first, but then it kind of fade like within the first hour.
You see, that's what I heard about all the sleeping aids. They say if you take sleeping aids, you will dream, but you don't remember shit.
Yeah.
But if you're naturally sleeping, when you dream and you get up in the morning and, oh yeah, I remember what I had.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's a thing. So compared to melatonin, have you tried melatonin before?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's better?
Yeah. The big difference is, I think with melatonin, I wake up a little bit more groggy, and with the CBD nightcap tablets, I don't have as much grogginess. I feel much more rested is how I wake up in the morning. But, they're pretty good. I haven't taken them in the last couple of weeks, so I'm going to start up again, but they're pretty good. I like them a lot. Yeah. I burned through that first bottle pretty quick.
So you take one a day, like 30 minutes before bed?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the ones I have now, they're bigger caplets. I think they're 3,000 milligram. And the ones I had before were 1,500. And so you would take two of those. And so now I would just like, oh, it's the same as taking two. So I'll just take one. And, knocks me out.
And what's the deal when you're not taking? Like, how do you feel like just a normal day? Oh, I'm not taking the pill. What's going to happen now? Are you sleeping? Are you?
Yeah. Yeah. The rest of the day, I feel pretty good.
Okay.
If I'm working out or doing any type of exercise, then I actually have the recovery drink with CBD in there. Right.
Okay.
Supposedly supposed to help with inflammation. It seems to. I mean, I've been having like some tendon problems with one of my arms. So, and if I drink that, then I don't seem to have that issue for a couple of days.
Can you send me that link after the podcast?
Yeah. Yeah, right. No kidding. Man, it's just like sleeping has been a lifetime issue for me, like since I was a kid.
Are you an insomniac? Are you one of those guys are you like an insomniac where you just have a hard time sleeping like at night or in general?
I just have a hard time sleeping in general. Like I have to be extremely exhausted and I have to eat very well. I had to consume a big amount of protein and just bad anxiety, man, just weird anxiety. Like I start thinking about random shit that's unnecessary. Yeah. You know, I mean, cannabis has been helping, but I don't have a good access to good weed around here. But I mean, in Austin, Texas, the only way that can knock me down, honestly, is just rolling a joint and not any kind of a joint. It should be like the bedtime joint, which is like what they call like indica, some really heavy indica too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I had probably like around 2007, 2008. Like after my dad passed away, I had just horrible insomnia. Like I was not able to fall asleep at a good time. By the time I did go to sleep, it was like, I want to say like 3:30, 4 in the morning. Right. And then I would have to get up and go to work. So maybe even 6 in the morning, and I would get like a couple of minutes of sleep.
Yeah.
And that went on for months and months. And then, I actually saw a nutritionist, and she tweaked my diet. Once she did that, I was out, and I've not really had that same issue anymore. But it was so weird how she went through, tweaked the diet. Basically, it was a keto diet, right? So take out all your carbs, right? You're eating vegetables. You're eating, I think limited fruits for like the first week, take out all the sugars, drink black coffee, things like that. But once that happened, I would fall asleep at like 8 in the evening.
I remember that when you started seeing the nutritionist, and you were like, and you cut out all this processed stuff. And then not too long after that, you kind of got into the working out. And so we talked with PJ about it on an earlier podcast and through Rackspace that you guys were doing. And I joined for some of that, but man, and it's amazing when you both diet and just, I think regular exercise can obviously help tremendously with putting you in a place where you rest well. You're actually tired more at the right time, so to speak, and actually sleep through the night, not so much tossing and turning. Well, and wake up feeling refreshed, because sometimes you can go to sleep and still just wake up groggy, feeling like shit. It doesn't matter how long you've slept, So I think it helps a lot with that.
I mean, I've been surprised with the lockdowns, the quarantine, how much exercise has helped me just kind of keep everything balanced up in my head, right? So if I don't exercise, then I tend to get a little more anxious. I can't turn my head off, right? Like I'll try to go to sleep and the thoughts just churn, right? But if I exercise, even if I go for a walk 30 minutes to an hour, and I have one of those backpacks where you can stick some weights in there. So if I do that, at least that, then I'm better my mood is just a little more even. And so I've noticed that helps out a lot too.
Yeah, I think
even pre-COVID, if I didn't work out and I was just busy, just working all the time, just burning the candle both ends, I was just horrible mood all the time.
The lack of physical activities do it too, We don't do much nowadays. We mostly sitting in front of a computer, just staring on screens, and I think you got to move to be able to rest. If you're not tired, your body is not asking for it. It's like, oh, why the hell do you want to sleep right now? I don't think you need it. You haven't done much,
Yeah.
Yeah. You get that.
Well, and to you, Omar, speaking of, sitting in front of a computer screen for hours, days, weeks, months on end, pre-pandemic even, I mean, how would you describe yourself? I mean, I know you as a filmmaker. You do video editing. Mm-hmm. I think the first time I met you was through Ulrich Ellison, who we had on the podcast, and you were doing the Guitar Heaven series with him, right?
We were doing the Austin Guitar Heaven for the Austin Music TV.
Right. And I think that was when I initially met you. And then I know you seems like you travel around a bit. So maybe you were in Europe, and I'm not sure. But the next time I ran into you was both you guys together when you were doing a screening of a documentary you did about Austin musician Izzy Cox, right?
Mm-hmm. Totally. Yes.
At Carousel Lounge. What's the status on that?
I finished the documentary. I was lucky that we got funded a little bit before the pandemic, and that kept me busy till let's say March, April, at least till June. I was working on that, so pretty much was just locking myself at home and just editing, So
and
literally
that's been released.
Say that
it's
again.
like, is it something you can find like on a streaming site, or where would you find? Is that released? Like, where can someone?
It
find
hasn't
that?
been released actually.
Hasn't been released. Okay.
I was planning to do. So I don't know if I can say that we finished the documentary in the wrong time, because we were planning to do like a big, huge screening in Austin for the folks, for everybody that supported the documentary, because we did a crowdfunding, and most of the money that I used is from Austinites such as yourself guys, and who helped me and support me, whether in a podcast or in a TV show or financially, you know. So the plan was for me and to honor Izzy Cox herself, and to honor the musicians in Austin, to do just a big screening in one of the theaters in Austin, Texas. And then boom, the lockdown hits and no more theaters. So I finished the documentary, and everybody was like, hey, let's do an online release. Let's do an online screening. And it doesn't really make sense to me. It just feels like, oh man, I'm just ruining the beauty of this thing. And I don't want to do it online. I'm not just going to put it on YouTube or on Amazon or something. It's like, hey, this is the documentary. I have been working on this for the past 5 years, and I don't think this is the right format to release it. So I'm just going to hold back a little bit. And hopefully this year we will have some sort of, some way to have theaters back open again, and we'll get everybody together and just watch the documentary, man. Yeah, to honor everybody in Austin.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks, man, because you have bands typically. I mean, if you're on a little bit higher level, I mean, anyone seemingly would want to do it if you could afford it and logistically put it all together. It's not easy, but the quote correct way to release something is to put it out. If you're local, you have I love when CD release show, like that's not a thing, but you have an album release, right? Or an EP release or whatever it is. You have some sort of physical show, and then, ideally, even do a tour, whether that be regionally or big, just depending on the level of the band and all that kind of stuff. But there's something about going out there and physically promoting it. And it's true, because people respond to that. And when I've done any kind of touring, I mean, that's when you actually sell merchandise. That's when people actually buy things. It's really kind of, I think it's much more difficult to sell anything online. It's kind of an impulse buy. It's the excitement of the moment, the souvenir, you were there, that kind of stuff.
Totally, yeah. I mean, for me, it's like I'm not trying to sell anything at this point. It's just as I mentioned, is the honor of having everybody together in one place and watching this movie in a big screen. That's it. That's all.
I agree. Yeah, there's something about seeing something premiered in a theater. And it's still relevant. I mean, the world has changed so much, and we're all. But I think there's that desire, certainly, with many, many people. And hopefully, these industries, when we get through this, and there's some sort of normality again, hopefully these industries will boom. That's what I'm hoping. Is that like places like the Draft House and these things will be packed. People will be dying to go to see movies. Wanting to go see concerts, and not take these things for granted and be like, next time, whatever, I'll watch it on YouTube. Yes, we have that option. That's nice. But to go, because it's kind of there's two parts to it. One of it is you're going and you're experiencing something. It's an event. That only happens once. You can always go watch something online, and hear about it later. But to go experience it, you'll never get that moment again. And so there's that aspect from anyone, a fan standpoint, but then also like, in terms of supporting the art itself, and like doing that, it's so much more personalized. You're there in the moment. I think it's still relevant, and hopefully those things really come back in a big way. But yeah, just like whether it's a filmmaker like yourself, because anyone that I know that's in film in any capacity, that's what you do. You have a premiere or multiple premieres, right? And you go to film festivals.
That's your day. That's your day.
Yeah, I've been to a few premieres. I don't know a lot about it, but I've been to a few premieres with friends that have made movie, documentaries, whatever the case may be, and it's very much seems the same. Like that's how you want to premiere your art. You don't want to just be like, hey, I did this thing. I spent years doing it, blood, sweat, and tears, and it's on YouTube whenever you feel like it. You want it to be a thing, an event.
That's so sad. No, exactly. So for a filmmaker, you work on this baby for 4, 5, 10 years, and then you just want to see everybody around you to say, hey, congratulations, shake hands, and give you a hug, and say, this is a great job. Thank you for putting it together. And it's the same way as we did when we started the crowdfunding, when you showed up yourself at the Carousel Lounge, and it was great. You feel the emotion, you feel the connection with everybody. It's like it gives you a little bit of boost, you know? This is your energy drink right there. It's like, oh yes, I think people are watching me, so I want to do it. And we all want to be seen, right? Aren't we? That's a normal scenario.
Well, what I liked about that too, and what's cool about those kind of events is, you know, it's something that maybe you reached out or I heard about it. I don't know, you know, how I found out, and I went, and then it's like, but there's all these residuals, you know, you run into people, you're like, oh, wow, you know, and I was talking to people and all these people were connecting and catching up and talking, you know, out in the parking lot afterwards. And I got to see, you know, there were friends playing there that I hadn't seen in years who don't even live in Austin anymore. And so it's kind of like, it's a family event. You know, I think with those kind of instances, you know, you just cross paths with a lot of people, and it brings a community together. And there was so many artists there supporting. It was great to see, you know, because a lot of us kind of loosely know each other, and we're all in a similar business, you know, and so it's not, you know, it's vital for that kind of support to happen. And I think it's psychologically too, you know, you need that as an artist, like you were saying, like you need that some sort of like in person, like, dude, good job. This was great. I'm so glad I came, and tell other people about it and spread the word. You know, it's hard to get that from, like, especially when it's just this like massive sea of God knows on social media, right? It's really hard sometimes to because you can't take that personally. If you see someone in person, like, that's personal. It's there in the flesh. On social media, it's like, are people seeing this? Are they not? Who even knows? You know, it's really hard to track, and it's very depersonalized just from the nature of the platforms, you know?
Yeah. Despite all the technology, we're still emotional beings. And I mean, at least myself, I'm an emotional being, and I want to see people. I want to physically be in places, physically hear and listen and watch music and watch films. And I think I still need it. I'm not over it yet.
So we had started saying on take one, when we were, you know, the Lost interview.
Lost interview.
What do you call it? The director's cut. I don't know. But like, yeah, when we had started by saying we didn't waste 5 minutes of the podcast by talking about hot news anchors and weather people, but we were basically saying you are from Israel. Is this correct?
I mean, so this is a gray area about where are you from. It's some people would call it Israel and some people would call it Palestine. So it's kind of like a big political case right here, but it's Israel right now. So I think if that's the place, I'm from Austin. When people ask me where are you from, I am from Austin. Right. I live in Austin and I work in Austin, and that's my hometown.
How long? I mean, you're back over there now on vacation, right?
So the idea is, when I decided to leave about 5 weeks ago, I just wanted to get out, man. I landed in Paris first. I landed in France, and I spent 3 days.
You had to go to the Middle East where it was peaceful.
It was a shit show in France, and it was like an extreme curfew, and there was some riots in the streets and all that. So I was just like watching from distance. Spent 3 days. Had to do another COVID test, got in the plane, and I went to Egypt. I went to Cairo, which is another shit show. It's like the 10 years anniversary for their revolution. And it's kind of, there's like a crazy energy in the air. There's, what I wanted to see in Cairo was, the new museum that they're building, and it's a huge, big ass museum. So I just wanted to get there and see if I can find some mushroom and walk around, but I couldn't. So I was able to walk around, and I got sick a little bit. I got food poison in the first night I got there. So, and I was planning to do London after that, but they decided that London is not open for Americans anymore, and you have to do 14 days quarantine. So the idea of my traveling at this time is, as Americans, I just wanted to find any place that has no restrictions on Americans, and I just wanted to go, for the sake of getting out. And after that, yes, I have families and relatives in the Middle East, so I decided to swing by and spend some time in between, like Jordan, Jerusalem, Israel, and pretty much wanted to go to Dubai too. So the list is still on, but right now I'm slowing down a little bit to see if I can get the vaccine, and that will make it easier for me. Because man, they made a hole in my head. These COVID tests is just not comfortable at all. I'm not feeling comfortable with it. I have done about 6 of them right now, and in a matter of 5 weeks, and it's not. I mean, I don't know. It's not gonna kill me. I'm still alive, but I don't like it. You've just seen a stranger that's holding your head back like this and like putting something in your nose, and it's not comfortable. Emotionally, physically, and not by any shape or form.
It sounds horrible.
So I don't like it.
Wow.
It's a big old long Q-tip up the nose. Ugh.
Yeah, I've heard it sounds really brutal. Like it feels like they're just, touching your brain with the thing.
Yeah. I mean, the first one I did in Austin was really comfortable because I arrived just in my car, and it was fancy. I think I paid pretty much the highest money in Austin, Texas. The rest of the world was a little bit cheaper, but someone approached me in the car, and she gave me like a little envelope, and it was sealed, plastic sealed. I think they sealed it, so I don't know if you can call it sealed. But so I would open it, and there's like a little something in it. It looks like just a little brush. And she gave it to me, and she said, "Just stick it in your nose, and when it stops, just stop." And I was like, how far should I go? Because this is really sensitive to me. Like, I need the test, and it has to be 72 hours and 2 days from now. And she said, like, just go on. And whenever it stopped. So I didn't go on so far, just like literally around the outside area. And that was comfortable. But I think in Egypt, it was so fucking aggressive, man. I was like, dude, what are you doing? Seriously. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think psychologically it's not comfortable for me. You feel like you have been forced to do something, and as a human, like I don't want it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sucks that there's not a less abrasive, uncomfortable manner that they can test for that.
Yeah. We're developing. I heard now the spit is working very well now. A lot of people are doing the spit.
Sounds a lot easier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Have you guys done any tests in Austin? No.
I haven't. No.
Yeah, you don't do it if you don't need it. It's not cool.
Well, I think we brought this up earlier too in regards to the vaccine. It's kind of weird because I'm not an anti-vaxxer, and will get the vaccine, but. It's almost like you almost want to just kind of like watch for a minute and be like, okay, let's make sure like nobody mutates, nothing goes horribly wrong.
Nobody grows a third arm.
Yeah, nobody grows a third arm. I don't know, man. I mean,
or a third ball or something.
I don't know. It's just it's something that we don't know enough about. That's it for me. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, I don't feel like there's any easy solution. I think it's real easy. We've been in such a heated climate that we get aggressive and we take sides. And I mean, I've done it, but I think realistically, if you kind of just stand back and you say like, I understand arguments from both ends. I really wish, and I don't want to get on the soapbox. My big thing has constantly been, I just wish people could be a little more cordial and nice to each other and be like, if I need to, if it's preferred to wear a mask for a little while, then I'll do it. You know what I mean? And not make such a big issue. And in my mind, that's not asking too much in the midst of a novel virus. So that's kind of been my thing. But should the world shut down? Curfews agreed. That can seem a little silly. Like the virus only creeps out after 7 p.m. or something. And it's like, we need businesses to stay open. We need to work together so those businesses can stay open. And then in terms of a vaccine, I mean, I understand that it's like there's a lot of fear going around, rightfully so. And you could argue that it's been really, I don't think anyone in the right mind would argue that this is a real pandemic right now and not some crazy, global conspiracy. But yes, it's both that in of itself is scary. And then the fact that we are, I don't want to say rushing into a vaccine, but certainly more testing could be done. And it's just sort of like it's a shit show no matter how you cut it. And I think it's there's a lot of uncertainties around all of it,
Yeah. Yeah, I think the reaction was a little bit overdue from everybody. That's what I think. As I say, don't take my word. I'm not an expert in the topic.
Right.
I'm just speaking for myself. But I believe
It
the
didn't even
reaction
matter
was a little bit
because here
crazy.
we are anyway, right?
Yeah.
I mean, everything shut down, and we, it really kind of almost seemingly not just the United States, but the world. Has these like really split opinions on the matter, and there was this big shutdown.
Totally.
And here we are anyway. Did it make much of a difference? Maybe it could have if it has really done differently. But you're dealing with such a complex system, especially in a system where it's not just one federal, in a huge country, right? Where you've got all these different tiers of government, and these are not easy. It's not an easy thing to manage, and when something just blindsides you, I don't know if it could. I don't like the way certain things were handled and presented and all that, but I also don't necessarily think maybe there wasn't much that could be done. It almost seems like any way you cut it,
it's gonna hurt somebody.
It's just a bad situation, Yeah, it's just a bad situation.
The longest 2-week lockdown ever.
Yeah. Just wow. It's just so crazy. I mean, we're just talking about one part of the world. We're just talking about one country, in terms of what has happened here in the last year. I mean, a year ago, I was at the NAMM show, just having a grand old time, and no idea. I mean, I think people were probably getting COVID all back then. Even I'm sure it made its way over here, and we had no idea. And then after that, I went to San Francisco for a concert and was out, and so who knows? But literally, it was like a faraway thing. Like these viruses, it always seems to be that, right? It's like, oh, we hear about this thing, but somehow we get away with it. It never really seems to affect us, and maybe it's just not blown. I don't want to say out of proportion, but maybe it's just not publicized as much, or whatever the case may be. But it seemed like another one of those, like, oh boy, another crazy virus in China, and Asians are wearing masks because this is not something we haven't seen before, right? This is a thing.
We're the protected humans. Nothing's gonna catch us. It's like we're too far.
Those
it's like,
crazy
it's okay.
Asians, and it's like I really feel like this is gonna change our culture in a lot of ways. And honestly, like the whole mask thing. Look, I want to walk around with a mask on for the rest of my life. No, dude, I don't like smelling my own breath. I don't like fucking. It's annoying as fuck. I hate it, but I'll do it. Glasses fogging up. Like I should have a right. If anyone's going to complain, look, you know what? If you don't wear glasses, fuck you. I don't want to hear you complaining about a mask.
Dude,
Like,
everyone got their own reason for not wearing a mask.
No one should
you
even
want
have
to see the shit show in the airplanes, dude. Holy
Jesus,
fuck.
man.
In an international
people throwing
airplane.
temper tantrums.
When
I think
there's
it's
like
ridiculous, personally.
300-400 people in one place and a fucking many thousand feet away in the sky, and everybody's arguing the same shit, dude. Some people are just like yelling in the back of the airplane. It's like, I'm not gonna put my mask on. And
I gotta be honest,
it's so
those
crazy.
are the motherfuckers that came to the grocery store. That was like my first job, and those are the same kind of assholes that came to the grocery store and started yelling at poor old 16-year-old me or whatever the fuck, because it wasn't my fucking scanner didn't charge them take off $1 on their fucking milk or something. Some people just exist to be fucking assholes. They're just fucking assholes, period.
They just need a reason. They just need a reason to be. It's not only about
and
the
so
mask.
now it's masks.
Yeah.
That's their latest fucking thing to be an asshole about. I don't know. Make a movie about this shit.
There's always going to be those people that complain about a free meal, right? There's
complain about everything.
Always griping, always bitching about everything. Yeah, I would think even if there wasn't a pandemic going on, the place you would want to wear a mask would be an airplane.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I've come back from work travel and I just catch a cold or just feel crappy for,
it's
for
funny,
like a couple of days. And you're just like, man, what in the world?
I feel like we never thought about it. But honestly, like with this whole mask thing, and in some aspects, I'm like, dude, first of all, it actually seems like a courteous thing to do if you are sick and you go out in public. That's just common courtesy, really. And secondly, you're right. Like if you're traveling, I kind of want to wear a mask on a fucking airplane from here on out.
If you don't brush your teeth, people have the right to ask you to wear a mask. God damn it.
Right. Well, first brush your fucking teeth so you can tolerate yourself. But I remember flying back from LA or something like several years back. And there was this lady with her 2 kids in front of me, and these little dirty bastards. This one kid's just got a He is coughing like that horrible bronchitis cough. And he's eating Doritos and they're all over his face. Just this I just wanted to be like, bitch, fuck, get your kids off this fucking plane. I mean, I was pissed, man. Just coughing. Man, dude. Like, I feel like if like, now am I saying that should be regulated? Maybe not. But I feel like as a decent human being, put a mask on your little nasty fucking kid. Put a mask on your own fucking face. And then if I want to wear a mask to protect myself, that's cool too. I agree. I don't see what the big goddamn deal is about it. Sorry. One of these days I'll learn to have a podcast where I'm not screaming and shouting profanities through the entire damn thing.
We'll have to, on that podcast where you don't mention masks at all, we'll do a real special intro for it.
Did that actually happen? Not yet.
Not yet.
It is kind of hard to avoid the topic at this point, considering it's a worldwide phenomenon.
I heard Biden. Man, I'm going to say the last thing about the mask, but I heard Biden yesterday. He was mentioning that he going to put an order for a 100-day mask in 5 days.
Right-wingers are going to go ape shit now. They don't have a defiant president that has their backs. Like, Jesus, God help us all. See, you can't win this fucking game because I'll throw the right under the bus right now, the far right, because they deserve it. They're a bunch of ass clowns. But on the, what I just said, almost not, jokingly, you get the, the other extremist that, what? He said the word God. It's like, I can't say.
Well, you say the word anything. Jesus, that's more important than God. So yeah, Jesus, keep that in mind.
God forbid I say, I said it again. I can't say Jesus. I can't say Christmas. I can't say this. I can't say that. How about we all just wear a mask and don't fucking say anything? I mean, exactly, that's what everyone, that's what the far right fears, though. Ooh, taking away our rights, I can't run my mouth. I'll say Jesus if I want to.
And you can't masturbate too, so keep that in mind.
Well, two things. So first, clearly, I'm just a middle-aged, bitter old white guy. I just want to complain about Allah. Fuck all you. I hate you all. Right? Secondly, just stay up at night, can't sleep. Secondly, with what you just said about porn, I mean, if you're out of melatonin or whatever it's called and CBD, I mean, there is Pornhub. I was going to say that's another potential aphrodisiac.
Till you drain the shit out of yourself.
Just fucking jerk it till you pass out.
If you have an extra bag of glue, just snore that. Masturbate and sleep. Don't worry about it.
All right. What chemicals do I have where I can just get high and
probably alcohol instead of you washing your hands and.
This is ill-advised, like pretty much everything I say on these podcasts. I don't think I've told this story on this podcast yet, but I found it really funny. Personal experience. So, like if you go to a bar or something, and this was, I'll clarify, this was years ago before I was in a happy relationship. But, it doesn't matter how happy you are.
Like 6 months ago, right?
I still got to jerk off from time. This was yesterday, Well, it would be even worse now because I'd be mad, I'd have to reprimand myself for going to a bar. But I'd like gone out and had one of those nights where you went to a bar, I drank too much, came home. And like, when you're like, you get blitzed, right? You're a couple of things. Like you might just be really tired, but you might also be horny, right? And so there was this night I tried to like have my cake and eat it too. And I think this was so long ago, I want to say it was actually a VHS tape. And I was like,
that's way too long ago. Okay.
So I put on
German variety. Right?
Yeah. So I put on a German fisting video. But I was also like hungry, so I was like eating peanuts, right? And I swear, dude. And so I swear, like I just passed out, and like I ended up waking up the next day, like with my pants half down and like peanuts all over my chest, and it was pretty terrible. But I think it's funny.
Oh man!
So that's my public service announcement. Like, you got to decide. You got to make choices. You can't masturbate and eat at the same time. It's ill advised.
One or the other.
Yeah, dude.
Also, I think it's not super sanitary.
I think my public announcement will be. I don't know where. I think I was living in Ohio for a little bit, and it was a sunny day. And usually in the winter you get a lot of snow there, and it was a sunny day, so I decided to do a little bit of work outside. So I would put in my speakers, and I would hook the speakers into my computer, and have the speakers outside. Just play some music and do some work outside. So as soon as you're done with the work outside, the first thing you want to watch some fucking porn when you get inside.
Really? Is this
dude? That was the case. That was the case that night.
It's your motivation. It's like for mowing the yard. Can't wait to get inside and jerk off. This
is not the problem. And then you get in and you would start some porn, and then I totally forgot that the speakers were outside. I would salute the peanut butters and all that, and you get off like nobody saw that. But when your speakers blasted all the way in your backyard, and it's just some fucking horn and shit,
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Do you remember the context?
Holy fuck! Usually you will forward the first 3 minutes just to get into the good shit. It's totally screaming and yelling and.
Yeah, you fast forward through that stuff, man.
Yeah, totally. Why would you want to see the intro where two people are talking? This is not what you're doing.
Why is the volume down low? Let me turn it up. Turn it up louder.
So now that we're talking about porn, clearly this is a topic that, oh man, when we had a few weeks back, dude, Omar, if you like porn and like to want to have a good laugh about it, we had this chick who lives out in Vegas, right? She's an attorney, but she's got a radio show where she talks about rock and roll and plays music and stuff. But they have a segment where they talk about porn, and it was fucking hilarious, man, talking with her. So we talked about all this on that episode. Maybe I told the peanut story on that episode. Feels like I would have. Anyway,
no, you didn't, because we kept talking about Crocs.
Yeah, that one we went off on Crocs and just how unacceptable it is to wear Crocs, basically. Yeah. I feel like Omar's wearing Crocs right now, though. Omar looks like a Croc guy. Looks comfortable, right? Omar's out there fucking mowing the yard in Crocs, just thinking about filthy ass porn.
I don't know. I think that's what most people think about. We just say that we're emotional beings, but we kind of just ignore the needs for just being horny. I think it's just like food. Fuck that.
Yeah, it's natural. It's natural.
Yeah. But as a society, we're not open enough to talk about it. That's it.
It's natural. Now, what I find is actually interesting. I've actually thought, I think I said this on that show. I think the psychology of porn is kind of fascinating to me, because and the effect that it has on a society, like anything, right? I mean, once upon a time in the Dark Ages, it seemed like religion was, but everyone was creeping around, probably doing some nasty shit. You know what I mean? Because you're like these animals, and a lot of animals don't know any better. I was watching this nature show a couple of nights ago. It was brilliant. It was great, man. It had these.
Were you eating peanuts?
I was eating peanuts, pants down, jerking off to baboons. But yeah, it was like there was like all these different animals in the Alps, right? There was like these different deer and stuff, and they're fucking, we've all seen these just strutting around and fucking fighting each other, over the females, and then like one fucking deer was like sneaks up and like just fucking mounts this female, and the bull's like, and he was, and the narrator was just great. And he was like, and he wasn't having it. This big fight. But I mean, it's just, and they're making all these crazy noises, and they were showing these birds and all the shit they do, with their feathers and noises and so it's this nature thing. But you have, we talked about this in regards to Alex Jones with our last guest, like, gay frogs and, whatever, two frogs, that something in the water supply. But dogs don't know any better. Me and my brother used to make fun of our dog because he was, he'd fuck anything. He didn't give a shit. We took him to like dog training. He was trying to mount another male dog, and we had to shame him and stuff. And I mean, this was back in the 90s, so it was okay.
He's developed now.
Yeah, nowadays it's like, dude, it's cool, man. It's cool, bro. Like, so, but the point is I think it's like there's an animalistic, reptilian, whatever inherent thing, right, in animals, regardless almost of probably most species, unless you're asexual, that there's that drive, right? Mm-hmm. But what I think is interesting, obviously we're the only species that's filmed it and just keeps pushing. I mean, maybe this shit was being done in Germany in the 70s already, but I mean, it's just like porn seems to get increasingly nastier and nastier, or more taboo. So things that used to be really taboo, I was joking with another guy we had on the show, Dave Vic, as you can imagine, things that were once taboo, and we'd be like, oh, gross, why are you putting it in her butt? And then now it's like, why are you fucking put it in her butt already? Why are you fucking? You know what I mean? It's like these things almost become like more normal and
normalized
acceptable,
shit.
right?
Yeah.
So I think once like we might have looked at some things and be like, oh, gross, and now you're like, yeah, where are my peanuts? You know?
Well, I think there are more humans to talk about it right now. Right, like, let's say, like in the 50s, this was like some kind of a gross things to do, but now there are more people talking about it, and that's increases,
Right.
and there's more access to it. Like where there are more people telling each other how they
More
feel
accessible.
about things. Right, it's more accessible right now. We just made it easy with this technology. But even before this technology, people had access to magazines, and you would open a paper when you're like in. You know, when you're a kid in school, it's like someone brought a magazine and you'll look at it as like, holy shit, this is cool, you know? And everybody would see it. It's the same thing when somebody finds a good video. It's like, oh, let's share it with everybody, you know? So it's
Two
just
girls, one cup.
You know, right? That was one of the things that was everybody
Interesting
wanted to
phenomenon, right? Yeah, it's like what's that car wreck syndrome where you just can't look away? You know, where people are like, oh God, I got to see it, even though I know it's going to be
exactly.
horrible,
So it's the same scenario, and we have the same thoughts. Nothing has been changed for us as humans. It's just we have an easy way to share and access things.
Mm-hmm.
But the thoughts are thoughts, man. Everybody had them since the beginning of time.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're probably right. I mean, there is one crucial difference that I would say that nowadays we're able to be a little more clean. You know, you might have been a little more reluctant to, do certain actions with some, whore in the 1800s who, idea of a bath with sitting in a bucket of lukewarm water. But who knows? Those dirty bastards probably doing it, So
yeah.
Getting all kinds of venereal diseases.
I think they have done it way thousands of years ago. It has been done in a different.
Roman, yeah.
Romans,
Greeks, man. Everybody has done it. Egyptians, everybody.
Well, and it's like anything.
Skunk, I thought you were going to say that there were more pubes back in the day, and that's why it was dirtier.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's all. Apparently, that's a very recent thing because I remember coming up and being like, you would see some late night, Showtime movie, and it was just like woolly mammoths down there, regardless of sex. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't seem to be the norm desired thing anymore. But it's normal. It is normal, actually. That's the thing about it. So it's kind of weird. We're like a judgmental species either way because I feel like. We could be at a point nowadays where you could be like a really accepting person of who's like, I support gays and transgender and et cetera. Great. But I'm not throwing anybody under the bus. I'm just saying how hypocritical I think we can tend to be is like, but that very same person, like maybe their partner drops their pants and it looks like 1975 and they'd be like, Jesus Christ, get your act together. Get with the times, man. Well, this is fucking natural, dude. Oh, natural. So yesterday.
Yeah. Right.
Natural. I'm rambling. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. So what happens when masks and porn, man? Jeez.
No, that would happen when you're not. That's what happened when you're not crazy into one side of the ideas. When you just let your brain go and just. I don't know. You're not narrow-minded. You're just talking, man. And I think if everybody does this, it's more comfortable, and we will have less argument. We will just accept each other. Just like I don't give a fuck whatever you do. Just don't hurt me. Don't bother me.
Dude,
I don't
you
care,
nailed
man.
it. You nailed it, man. I mean, that's it. Live and let live. Unless someone is harming someone else.
Do no harm. That's it, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who gives a shit what like that's it. Two consenting adults can do whatever the fuck they want.
Exactly. Just yeah.
All right, good
long pause.
Yeah, right. Long pause. That's right. Yeah.
It's like what that was three guys thinking about what porn they're going to watch later.
I don't think for me tonight. What time is it here? Let me see. Oh fuck! It's 4:30 a.m. Let me get some water and plug my charger on. Let me plug my charger.
5 a.m. wanks.
There we go.
Okay, Vic, I'll hit mute for the rest of the interview and just let you talk.
Yeah,
I say that, but I won't. I won't shut up.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Thinking about how it was in the 80s and even the 90s in terms of just the way society changes and shifts, whether it be race, women, the way you view race, women, gay, homosexuality, transgender, all of these things. And there's always a pushback, which makes sense because people are indoctrinated and they're ingrained in their thoughts and their ways and what they're comfortable with. So, in religion, et cetera, et cetera. And it seems pretty great to be in a place where, in general, we talked about this. I think of the Zoe episode, and I just caught up with her a little bit the other day and like talking about
cool,
having that kind of acceptance of other people. As long as you're not harming anybody else, you're a decent person who cares about religion's preference, skin color, sexual preference, all those kind of things, But just going back even 30 years, I think about how for me personally, there wasn't a lot of the racial stuff wasn't too bad. I mean, it was integrated and I didn't really feel like a lot of, tension or anything like that.
Yeah.
It seemed pretty normal, right? But there was more about interracial dating. That was certainly a thing that parents, that generation of parents, I think were a little more like, I don't know, he's black. Even though you weren't, or I guess you were racist, but what I mean? It's like, I'm just a little racist. I'm not as racist as they were in the 60s. Hello. But there's that.
Well,
and
you
then
had yeah.
But gays, man, was very different, right? Like it was, I feel like bad for someone who was gay back then because it was
all you had was the Village People back then, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like it was so much more difficult.
I don't think I can
for someone
hear you,
to be gay in those days, especially at a younger age, any age probably. But are you there?
Can you hear us?
Turn off Pornhub.
You may be using the one that
I was gonna.
Foxy was talking about.
Yeah, she's an XXNX girl. Yeah, I did some research on that site. I wanted to, make sure that I was just like I listen to people's music. I was like, I got to go look into this. Respect our guests. Be like Bill O'Reilly, who claimed he ordered Jenna Jameson's porn for research. It's like, bro, that no one's gonna buy that shit. Can't roast somebody you jerked off to.
Hello.
Let's see. I think he.
Oh yes, I hear you now.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Man, I love this MacBook, bro. This is the new one, but it has a lot of funky shit. I don't know what's going on.
They are funky. I've got one too, and it's all the USB-C, the Thunderbolt ports.
Yeah, I had to get the new adapter, and you pay fucking
it's so annoying.
$120 for it, and it's still not working well, and it's clumsy.
Just to go to a typical or an old school USB 3 or what? Are there no USB ports?
No, to go into like a 3.5 jacks, like the headphones, to plug it in.
Yeah, it's a so I've got my work. Oh, no, it's back there. My work laptop. It's the smaller one, right? My personal one's the 16-inch, right? Mm-hmm. But it's got the USB-C Thunderbolt ports, and that's all it has, and a headphone port. But yeah, so no USB-A, no USB.
But I like it beside that.
Yeah. There is kind of a quirky.
It works great for editing, man. I use Adobe Cloud.
Super powerful. I was going to ask, what's the stock RAM on those new laptops?
This is 16 gigabytes.
Okay,
the one that I got.
Yeah,
that's what I got.
It's
pretty crazy.
I got a Mac Mini with 32. Man, it's been a dream. Yeah, my laptop.
I did the 32.
I got to get a new. I have been running off external drives and trying this and trying that's actually what I asked Zoe about. But it looks like it's finally just cooked, man. I need to.
I'll send you a link where you can get a used MacBook. And I think they're fairly good priced.
I buy everything used because this stuff is so expensive. I got a pretty good deal on this Mac Mini.
It was the first. It was so this MacBook that I have now I had a little bit of buyer's remorse, and I'm like, do I really need it? Because I still have another older Mac It works perfectly fine, but from a performance standpoint,
Yeah. I mean,
video editing.
I still have my editing machine, which is I have in my office, but I wanted something that I can edit while traveling too, because I still have some editing work that I'm doing right now. So I need something really that can perform when I do a little bit of animation and graphic designs and all that in Adobe Premiere. But this machine is performing way better than my editing machine at home.
I was talking to an engineer in a studio recently, and I was asking about, like, been around a while. They got a lot of great outboard gear and stuff, and compressors, EQs, the whole thing. And I was like, when you're mixing, what do you, I was just kind of, and he was like, oh man, I just mix on my laptop now. Like, and I know a lot of guys that are doing that because they've just got these new machines are so powerful, and now a lot of the plugins are so good, that.
And as soon as I'm getting back, I think I'm just going to plug in 2 monitors to this, and this is what I'm going to use.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like the South Park guys, right? That were using those really expensive editing computers for editing, right? When they started off, and then I think they did a documentary a while back, but they were saying that they can get Macs now. That's what they use now. They'll just get Macs because they're way more powerful than the old stuff, and they're way less expensive than the video editing machines. So. Yeah,
even rendering, like what it used to take. Let's say
it's the worst. That's the worst part of editing. Yeah, in video.
Yeah. Now I'm editing 15 minutes segments for gymnastic place that does gymnastic for kids, and they decided to go online. So I'm editing that. We shot a whole lot of videos before I left, and I'm editing that right now. And there's a lot of animations for the kids. That's they're doing like a storytelling through and using like workout and exercises and gymnastics through the storytelling, and we use a lot of animations. What used to take about 1.5 hours on my editing machine to render and export, it's taken about 10 minutes in MacBook, man. And this new machine, crazy! I was like, "What is this real?" Like, but you hear the whole machine.
That's Adobe Premiere.
Get hot, and it's just like, yeah, give me some space, plug in the charger, and let me do my job.
Wow.
Yeah, highly recommended if you're an editor. MacBook Pro, the new one that I got in December 2020.
How long have you been doing video? Did you go to school for that? Was that like a passion that you've had for many years?
We were talking about it actually with Victor. I'm an electronics engineer before cinema and cinematography and video editing. So I worked with Sony, and I always had a passion. Even when I was a kid, I always wanted to open the TV from the back and see where these humans are sitting, So totally. Like right after high school, I went to college for electronics engineering, and I did 2 years, and I worked for Sony. I did audio and video, and it was always exciting. I was always interested to know how the camera works and how the TV would work. So the whole process of the picture, from capturing the picture into putting it out there and people seeing it, and the physical part of it, and the physical part of the satellite, and transforming signals and data and informations. And just storytelling and picture. I thought understanding how the camera works gives me ability to do something and tell a story through it. So in storytelling and video, it has been about 10 years now, almost since I moved to Austin. Yeah, and I went to college again, and I studied something called converging media production, which is kind of like the part of storytelling and using the new platforms and everything new, because there used to be like radio and TV back in the days, but right now we have you can watch your TV in your phone, and you can check your social media in your TV. So everything is kind of connected to each other. So it has been a good journey, and I love it, and I don't think I would be doing anything else if I'm not doing this.
In regards to like the film aspect of it and the creation and telling stories, is that more of something that you were inspired by and want to proceed with, like from a documentary standpoint, and maybe fiction and other films as well? Or do you have a very specific route there, or is it kind of open-ended?
It's just the aspect of storytelling in general, but I'm not really into fiction. I don't see myself doing a lot of fiction stuff. I just look at the stories from, let's say, an anthropologist point of view. Sometimes I would consider myself as an anthropologist, and I would see the stories, and I think there's always a story that needs to be told, such as this story. Like you look at your monitor and you see like there's like 3 screens over there, and if you give me a chance, I will edit it and I will make a movie out of it at some point. Just cutting between these 3 screens, and then I'll cut into something in this room, and So
thank God we don't have to do any editing on this episode, Vic.
Yeah,
exactly. But yeah, man, it's just like the aspect of storytelling, and there's always something that needs to be told.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I like the idea of observational documentary, where you give the audience a little bit of a chance to think about things.
Do you have any particular filmmakers that were super inspirational to you that are kind of your favorites?
Yeah, I think my mentor is Alejandro Jodorowsky. If you're familiar with the name, he's from South America, and he does Il Taboo. That's one of his movies. Holy Mountains, just a very crazy experimental things. That's I think, and I played him at some point. I had a friend in Austin who did a documentary about someone from Texas and who was in a relation with Alejandro. And when I had the long beard and the hat, he was like, dude, I think you look like Alejandro Jodorowsky. And I was like, well, tell me about it. And he said, well, we're doing a documentary if you would like to play him. So he got me more into experimental cinema and storytelling and different ways of storytelling, not the, let's say the 3-act structures that we're all used to from Hollywood and all that. Trying to get out of the line for a little bit.
What would that be? Like what'd you say the
3-act structure?
The 3-act structure, which is like what we used to see in the Hollywood way of storytelling. There's like there's a beginning and there's a middle, there's an end, and it's always the happy ending. And when everything looks bright and life is perfect, and you're the only sad one that you're watching, and the monitor is like, wow, this is perfect. Everything is gonna be right. But this is not the reality, such as the story that I made about Izzy Cox. She ended up dying with cancer. So,
yeah,
so this is the reality. That's life. And I think we would feel more, I would feel more comfortable and acceptant if I watch a real story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is my way of storytelling. I do a lot of experimental and avant-garde crazy shit for my own desire.
So what you're saying is you love Michael Bay films.
I do. Right?
Like more explosions.
Yeah, more explosions. I mean, I would say beside Alejandro, I would say Quentin Tarantino for sure, like his way of storytelling too. Well,
he really, yeah. I mean, Pulp Fiction seemed, I'm sure it had been done, maybe some influences of his, but for us, I don't feel like he brought that definitely into, I think, in a mainstream.
Yeah, right.
In this culture,
it's a new format, and they still count.
That was
like if you go to Netflix, it's still under independent films. Like they don't even want to consider it as mainstream.
An interesting movie that had an interest. The whole movie worked backwards. Remember the movie Memento with Guy Pearce? That was an interesting movie. The way they did that.
Christopher Nolan film.
I haven't seen that one.
Really? Oh, Memento's good, man. Yeah, it's like they tell it. This guy wakes up. What is it? Amnesia or something, and he's trying to figure out what happened. But it's like they tell the whole story in reverse or something. Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen it.
He can't form new memories, and so the premise is he leaves himself mementos to kind of trace back what happened. Right. So he lost his memory. It's been so long since I've seen it, but he has memories from like before. But anything new, he can't form memories. And so he leaves mementos to kind of help him figure out, what he did last night, what he did last, day or something like that. Right. So it's a really awesome.
It's cool. Yeah.
Movie.
You might dig that one, man.
This is the reality, right? Like when we're talking, when you have a conversation, aren't we like that? Like if the thoughts are back and forth, and then you remember something and then you say it, and then somebody else will say something else, and you go back to 3 years ago, and then boom, you jump into the future, and then you jump back.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's the reality.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's not
that's a great
chronological. Insight, yeah. You're so right.
That's how we think about things, Yeah, yeah. Especially with people like us who would like suffer with insomnia and like sleeping problems.
The ADD, yeah. Dude, that's the big thing for me is my brain is just explode. It's weird. I find myself that I'm like a Jekyll and Hyde for lack of a better analogy, but like I'm either all one or the other, and that's a stupid analogy, but I'm very like either just sort of almost comatose, shut down, like I'm just bleh, like I'm drained, or I'm just like firing on all cylinders, and it's really hard to almost reel that in, Yeah. No, you're right. That's an interesting way to put it in regards to film mimicking life. It actually is even when it's put in that
Now I want to watch that movie
context. Again. Yeah, I haven't seen that in a long time.
Yeah, it's forever. Yeah, it was. That was the first time I heard about Christopher Nolan, right?
And then after that, of his films.
Well, he did The Prestige, which I thought was really good. I think he did that after the first Batman.
That was like 2006, yeah.
With Hugh Jackman. It had Nikola Tesla. It had David Bowie as Nikola Tesla, right? It had Christian Bale in it. What else has he done? Interstellar was pretty good.
I haven't seen that.
The tones of his films are just really, they're not gritty, but they're just very, how would I describe it?
You got to do a charge.
Yes, let me plug in the charger. Actually.
Okay,
let me
gotcha.
find the right outlet
cool
right here. So it's weird,
man. And I want to bring this back up to Omar, Vic, but a filmmaker, and I don't know much of his work or how much more is out there because I've only seen like maybe 3 films. One in particular I really, really think is great. I guess it's not even the director, or maybe he directs too, but Charlie, I think his name is Charlie Kaufman, and he did, there was Being John Malkovich. He did Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, but adaptation, man, that fucking movie is awesome. Have you seen that?
I've not seen it. I've heard
it's so good.
I've heard a ton of stuff about that movie.
I highly recommend it. It's really different. I just really loved it, and it was just so interesting and different. I mean, and here's one thing that's so interesting about it is you've got like the usual suspects, like you've got Meryl Streep. Well, everybody knows Meryl Streep's going to be dynamite and everything. She's just regarded as one of the best actors of our time. It's got Chris Cooper, Academy Award winner. He's fantastic. It's got some other name people I can't think of, but I mean the whole cast is stellar. But it's interesting because the protagonist is Nicolas Cage, and you don't think of Nicolas Cage. I don't think most people think of Nicolas Cage as a great actor. Let's just be honest, right? But this movie is great. He plays 2 characters. He plays identical twin brothers who have very different personalities. And he's got this like curly, stubby hair, and he's kind of balding. And and he's this neurotic. It's completely opposite of like every other character Nicolas Cage has ever played. And he's so good in it. Like, I just think that in of itself was an interesting choice that somehow made the movie almost even better. I think it's like his best role. I mean, he's got Leaving Las Vegas and stuff, but I think he should have won an Academy Award for that. Have you seen Adaptation, Omar, by Charlie Kaufman? It was the screenwriter. Man, that movie fucking kicks ass, dude.
I haven't.
I highly recommend that movie.
I have not.
For a filmmaker, especially.
I would definitely
really
see that.
Interesting.
Yes,
and really,
I would definitely check that out.
Really well done. Yeah. That and Omar's video has been disabled. Poor Omar, he's got to charge like every 30 seconds.
Hello?
You can't watch porn and do the podcast at the same time, man.
I know I charged it already.
You don't have the bandwidth. We're not there yet.
Right? Yeah, but I'm not in my typical office, so.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, we're sitting here. We're literally doing this podcast across the world. And I don't know if that
across the world, man. Yeah. But I'm so glad that we were able to do it.
For some reason,
it does. My internet is a bit shitty around here. I don't know if you can hear me.
Can we? You might need to click on your video. I think your video might have gone out, or like I had earlier when my thing was grayed out. Is your?
Let me see.
Well, there's something. There's an avatar. It looks nothing like you.
Can you see me now? Can you hear me at least?
Yeah, keep talking. Oh, there you are.
Can you hear me? No?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
There we go.
Yep.
Yeah, hello.
So-
Hello, check 1, 2, 3. Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but I would.
Sweet.
Really
no, what I was saying, my
recommend both those.
internet is a bit shitty actually in this area.
Oh, okay.
Well, we've been doing pretty good, all things considered. After our mishap first round, I feel like we've gotten through this podcast pretty well, and we've covered all the basic fundamental topics of the modern human being.
COVID, porn.
For human being interest. COVID
That's about
porn.
it. Right.
COVID porn.
Sleeping.
That's it. Wow.
Sleeping aids.
Is that a band name yet? It should be COVID porn.
Yeah.
Check out my new band, COVID porn.
COVID porn. Yeah, right? Yeah. Or it could be an Austin startup. I don't know. Whatever you want. Yeah. COVID porn. Interesting.
Any other
interesting. Matt,
any
you
other
know what? Like
filmmakers
one
that are
of the
big,
things
any other
that
names?
one of the things that are that's what I wanted to say. Actually, David Lynch is one of the people that taught me how to meditate and how to think about the story. Yeah. David Lynch is a crazy shit, man. I highly recommend reading some of his books, and whatever comes in your hand, just read it. This guy just got me into meditation when I thought that meditation is just totally bullshit. But this guy got me back into it. Thinking about the story, and just sometimes you just need to stop editing and stop telling the story and just go take 50 minutes, go take 5 days, or go take a month. Just that's literally what I'm doing right now. Get out of your comfortable zone, do something different, and get back to your story, whether you're painting or editing a movie or mixing a soundtrack. David Lynch is the guy to solve this out, man.
Now, when you said reading his books, you're talking about David Lynch, the filmmaker? Are we talking about the same person, or no?
Yeah. David Lynch, the filmmaker. Yeah.
I didn't realize
he did a lot of writing, but his writing is a little bit different. So
I imagine, yeah.
He does. Yes, he did a lot of writing and insight and on meditation, actually. Meditation and storytelling. It's just like even the way he writes his books, you're not reading a whole book, but you're reading like thoughts. He would just write like different segments and thoughts, But it's a very interesting way of writing. It's a totally different format. It just can tell you like how this guy is just different in every way, So if he's different in storytelling and the movies that he made, his writing will be different. So he will give you, he will put you in a comfortable zone where you feel you're not alone. This moment of a struggle when you're in a dead end. I can't finish this track. I can't finish this song. I'm just out of ideas. This guy will take your hands and, get you across the road. Yeah.
Need to revisit some David Lynch stuff because that came up on Eric Livingston's podcast. We talked about David Lynch.
That's right. Yeah.
I was thinking Twin Peaks, which I got really into. It got really fucking weird, but I've heard that he kind of lost a hand in that. But Elephant Man's like one of my. That's just a masterpiece of a movie. But some of the other ones, that are a little more abstract, that people cite all the time, I feel like I really need to go watch and be really open-minded and because there's definitely a lot of artists I think that are very inspired by
David
Lynch, like you're saying. Yeah.
I think this guy helped me a lot to finish the Izzy Cox documentary.
Really? Was there a time with that that you felt?
I mean, because I didn't have a lot of resources to do the Izzy Cox documentary.
Man, I can't wait till we can see that. I can't wait till it's
absolutely.
You can do it right though, for sure. Hopefully here. Hopefully, a really.
I mean, as soon as we have a chance to do it in Austin,
I imagine.
Absolutely. No, it's not going to be anywhere else. I mean, Izzy's from Austin. I'm from Austin, and everybody. Yeah. It's not going to be anywhere else, and it's not going to be like a driveway theater. It's going to be an actual theater where people will get in and, we'll have a lot of fun to watch it. Absolutely. And I promise you there's a lot of crazy shit to watch, I had almost over 100 hours of footage, that I was able to put together from crazy different filmmakers and people who were interested to film with Izzy, and some of it in Canada and Australia, all over the US, some really weird honky-tonk shit.
I met her years back and knew the name. I didn't know a lot about her. Was Izzy, did she tour much, or was she primarily in Austin?
Oh, she did. She did.
Okay.
She was like one of her big story is touring and just traveling around the country as an independent musician, one woman band, and just kicking ass. She toured with Hank William III.
Wow. Okay. That's
awesome, she did with Hank
amazing.
William. It was, I don't want to reveal a lot about that, but there's a lot to tell in the movie about this tour and how it came out. Yeah.
What did the running time end up being on that?
But she was the perfect story as an independent woman. Ended up an hour 20 minutes.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, about 80 minutes. Yeah. Yeah, it's a bit short for a feature length, but that's what I felt it was enough.
Are you primarily?
I didn't have like a time frame. Yeah.
Sorry, we're getting a little crossover in terms of. I think we just have some latency right now. But are you primarily working on your own projects? Is that you're sort of following that passion specifically, or do you do for hire work? Do you have people contacting you? Like what's your kind of what's next for you now?
Working, actually. So here's the thing about my work in Austin as a media producer. I work with some Google Ads agency. I do commercials. That's how I make money.
Okay.
My own passion doesn't make money. My own passion in documentaries and experimental storytelling, that doesn't make money. And this is just something that I do, to I don't know, just like watching porn or eating some good barbecue, if you want to put it that way. But making money, yes, I do some work with Google Ads agencies, and I do commercials, and I do social media managements, and I do a lot of work with the startups and tech companies in town. That's how I make money. Yeah.
When is I don't know.
But for the documentaries, that's not going to make living. Absolutely, that's not going to allow you to travel.
Yeah. Hey, hopefully one day, chin up. Maybe one day. Maybe if you do the right if you do the right documentary.
Hopefully one day. Hopefully one day.
That would be a Fest documentary.
That'd be a disaster.
Yeah, absolutely. But the market is so crowded, man. It's just way too crowded than you can imagine. It's way too crowded to the point where you can say $1 million documentary is a low budget film. So that's a lot of gap right there. To reach a $1 million documentary and you still low budget film and nobody's even going to talk to you. This is a lot of harmful filmmaking. But I would still enjoy it. I still do it myself, and I'm not going to stop by any shape or form.
It's probably very similar to the way it is being a musician nowadays, right? On the one hand, you have these tools, like the MacBook. You can have your own studio. You can do all these things without spending hundreds of thousands of dollars and having to have this huge giant team to do all these things. But on the and maybe you're putting together some really great art as an independent because of it. But on the other hand, there's a million other people now that also have these tools, and maybe they're putting together some great stuff too, but maybe some of them aren't. But the competition either way is very, very fierce. I mean, it's a lot of competition now,
So there's a lot of everything, out there. There's a lot of whatever you can imagine of. There's a lot of food, there's a lot of porn, there's a lot of music, and a lot of films, and a lot of computers, and everything. Everything. Yeah. A lot of COVID cases.
Just
a lot of assholes.
Too much of everything.
Too much of everything, because there are too many humans, right? Aren't we? Compared
I
to
fucking agree.
50 years ago,
Absolutely,
there are
man.
fucking too many humans on Earth.
It's like you can't.
Yeah, man. When you talk about it, people.
You can't say something like this without sounding like a monster or a Nazi or something. But I wish we had some breeding laws. You know what I mean?
I mean, I'm doing the law on my own myself. I'm close to 40. I don't have any kids, and I'm not thinking about it anytime soon.
See,
you ask me why? No, I'm capable to have a kid, and I have the financial way to do it. But
you should get tax breaks. Tax breaks should work the other way. There should be incentives. I mean, dude, I'm like saying this even like seriously. Like, there needs to be incentives at this point to not breed. Like, there should be like financial incentives, or thank God no one listens to this. Or, it's like, if you have like, I know this sounds terrible. I know I sound I sound like a monster. Yeah, now people, as soon as I start saying offensive shit, people will listen just so they can hate me. But it's
this
like,
will go viral.
Yeah, it's like, dude, I'm sorry, we all like to fuck, but hey, there's birth control out there, and I'm all for like, let's get birth. Yeah, please. Free birth control, whatever it takes. Because if you live in a tube, I've seen these things before, and it's like, well, they're just getting by, and we've got 7 kids in a 1-bedroom apartment. Well, stop fucking, goddammit. Like, why the fuck? Like, I know this sounds terrible,
it's
but
fucking
it's true.
ridiculous,
It's like,
right?
Jesus fucking
right?
Christ.
Yeah,
like, you should not be able to have more kids than you have bedrooms. Or look, if you're like a Mormon or whatever, and like that's a thing where you got to have a big family, fine. But you should be like, like 1 acre per kid or some shit, man. It's this fucking goddamn inner city motherfuckers having like 20 Rugrats. This is bullshit. I think we'll cut that part of the podcast, I guess. But
dude, it's the same scenario,
ridiculous.
And
it's so overpopulated.
No, don't cut it. Don't cut anything, dude. Don't cut anything. You go to cities. You go to cities like Cairo, and you see the overpopulation, man. It's fucking crazy, insane shit.
And so much
everything
suffering
is
because
goddamn crowded.
So much suffering.
Like, you can't even breathe.
Yeah.
Exactly. So much suffering. Like, there's so many people living in the streets. So many people are asking for money. There's so many traffic and so many fucking trash and so many hangry people. It's just crazy. Yeah. It's just crazy, and nobody's thinking about it. It's like, what?
Like I said, I feel like you're demonized.
It is an issue.
If you say
it is an issue,
especially especially from the. I know this is sort of a broad statement. I don't mean to like particularly shit on a demographic, but especially from the sort of
no, Joe, especially
from like well, that's one thing that's always really bothered me about the Republican. Really stern Republicans, and beyond the recent radical crap is which they've been there. I just think they're more at the forefront now. But I think is the whole idea of this. I mean, yes, right to life, liberty, for who? For starters, right? Obviously, they fucked up that interpretation of the Constitution, or it wasn't originally intended that way. For starters, we all know that. Okay, we're amending. You make amendments. You try to be better, right? I mean, let's not crucify Thomas Jefferson for living in a world that was so vastly different than right now he couldn't even conceive. So there's that, right? I don't want to go on the whole statue desecration soapbox or anything right now, but like that's old news. We'll wait for something else to happen where everyone goes and pushes over statues. That fucking human beings are so goddamn stupid. Anyway, I lost my train of thought. It's like, I don't know. Why are we...
Cancel Skunk Manhattan.
It's just like, why? Stop fucking.
I'm just kidding.
I hate when I do that. See, that's what I meant about my ADD brain, man. I go off. No, the next thing I know, I can't even know what the fuck my original point was. Oh, I know what it was. Okay. It comes back. Like this, and I'm not just saying it's only Christians. Let's just use the Christian, God, pro-life.
No, it's
look. I think abortions are tragic. Now, first of all, if you're raped or some crazy, or it's incest, fucking man, abort that fucking thing. That's fucked up. No one should have to live with that. I hate arguing that. That's a disgusting point for anybody to defend. I do understand a pro-life on many levels. I understand that, but if you want to look at things just from a logistical, and I hate to put human life logistically, but people do it all the fucking time. So why, because it's a fetus, does it have to be treated any fucking different? You know, it's like logistically, like you cannot just keep breeding and breeding and breeding and breeding and breeding and taking away resources, right? So I wish more of these Catholic girls would just take it up the fucking butt and just quit fucking popping babies out, man. I'm sick of this shit.
Why does it gotta be Catholic, man?
Because I'm fucking Catholic and I know how these motherfuckers
Well, it's the same
are.
about guys too. It's not all them.
No, and it's not. I'm not throwing women under the bus. I'm not being chauvinistic. I mean, we're the ones that fucking, you know, stick it in there and fucking get our rocks off for 5 seconds and then run off. I mean, that
Sticking
ain't cool.
that shit. Yeah.
You know, there's got to be goddamn accountability for this shit. Throw that fucker in jail for a little bit or whatever, man. Find that piece of shit. I don't know. Maybe I'm just shooting blanks, so it doesn't matter. But
Well, people need to think about. No. It's the idea. Just need people. People needs to think about different things in life.
Yeah,
you know?
I do think like it's something that really
it's like
has to be
it's
discussed.
it's okay to be excited. It's okay to be excited without having a kid. Things are not in a timeline. Like if you're 30 and you don't have a kid, it's totally fine. Like there's no problem.
Right, and
with
I feel
that.
sorry for women having that kind of goddamn pressure.
It's
And I
just-
think with the way
it's
that
okay.
things are changing
Like
and like the older generation, the baby boomer generation's going away, you know, we're not going to be so, you know, poor women hopefully won't be so persecuted by their grandmothers like they have to be married and have kids when they're 16 fucking years old like they were. It's a different generation. And I know Vic's like, oh my God, I never should have done a podcast with this maniac, but I'm right, goddammit.
I don't think you are.
Okay, Vic, I'm going to shut the fuck up and I want, this
like,
is what
I'm
America's about. Vic, let's hear your 2 cents.
What do you think, Vic? Come on, tell me about it. Yeah,
Well,
tell
I
me.
mean, you hit on it. You kind of glanced on it a little bit. Accountability, right? We don't hold anybody accountable for anything around here. Top down, nobody. You know, everybody's entitled. It's never my fault. It's always somebody else's fault, right? I don't. Yeah, I don't agree. I mean, you talk about overpopulation where? World. Okay. Well, I mean, look at China, right? The one child policy. They're aging themselves out right now to where I think they've recently kind of tried to, or amended that one child policy, right? I was listening to a podcast the other day where the guy was recommending that we need more people in the United States, or from a global economic standpoint, China is going to overtake everybody, right? So we need more consumers in the United States is the way he put it, right? I mean, I'm pro-life. I think it's an awful thing to look at somebody as disposable. Like we're such a consumer-based society nowadays that you have something break, you just throw it away and get a new one. And it kind of feels like that's what it's come down to, right? And I hate the fact that you know, unborn kids, you know, you look at the Bill of Rights, First Amendment, right to life, liberty, you know, freedom of speech, things like that. It's easy for somebody to say, yeah, you know, I'm pro-choice, but they've already been born. They've had a choice, right? So, I mean, I just kind of look at it from that side, right? I don't want to.
I think it's a good argument.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a very good argument.
It's just sad to see us have just such a disposable mentality for things. I mean, earlier in my life, I would have probably thought differently. I've changed as I've grown and aged. I'm now to the point where, like, my favorite videos on YouTube are just craftsman type videos where people are just making stuff with their hands, being self-sufficient, things like that, not really depending on anybody, especially the government. I just cannot stand politicians and the way they promise and placate to people and just, you know, just pandering, this constant pandering.
And we just keep buying it. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And people aren't seeing through that shit, right?
You're right about accountability, man. And you're right. And I think that whether we're talking about something that's disposable, as you look at someone else and you think, well, they've got more than me, so what they have is disposable. I should have that, you know, entitlement, right? or you look at something, or something. Nothing has value. It's all disposable. And then when you start looking at life, it's an interesting thing you're saying, because I can equate that in my mind to how I see this mask issue. And I know the mask is like a punchline for the overall issue. I use that. I want it to be clear that I'm using that particular physical thing to make a point about. And I think you could make it the same. It kind of works both ways. And I actually this is what I find extremely ironic. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, Vic, because I see, again, just as a broad description, like let's say kind of the more super conservative far right, don't take away my liberty, don't take away my life. I've heard that Constitution argument. I think it's not a bad argument. Bill of Rights.
It's very generic, though, right?
It is generic, but I mean, I understand what you're saying, and there's value to that. But what I find really ironic is how some of these same people that are kind of like life to liberty and pursuit of happiness and all these things that are pro-life out the ass are the same motherfuckers that are going out there and being like, I'll breathe all over you, I'll give fuck you. I ain't wearing no goddamn mask. They're the same thing. It's the same fucking thing. So that's the biggest flaw that we all have as human beings, right? Is the hypocrisy of so much of what we do. So I think if you're going to go for one, you need to go all the way. Like you can't just be like, fry everybody who doesn't agree with me and fuck you for wearing a mask. Oh, but God forbid we kill an unaborted, they're all terrible. They're all terrible. All those things are terrible. The only difference is I heard one of the dumbest things I've ever heard out of a liberal's mouth was when someone was talking about
just one.
Oh no, to be fair, anyone who's speaking politics, like myself right now, is saying dumb things. But one of the most absurd things I ever said, and I'm for capital punishment. I mean, I think that it needs to be absolutely 100% certain that you've got the right person caught in the act. No question can possibly exist. And if that's the case, get this fucking piece. Get Ted. Why the fucking people like Ted Bundy take up? Why are they allowed to breathe? They should be gone. You know what I mean? It makes me sick. It also makes me sick to see how we glorify serial killers and then wonder why our society's so fucked up. But that's another topic. So, but these people that are going like, I lost my train of thought again.
Well, I mean, I wanted to touch back on.
It's all right. But here, Victor, let me. I want to comment.
Please do.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to comment on the saying like we need more people in America because China is going to take over. When I think about like the world is being overpopulated, I don't really think I'm thinking about the greater good picture. I'm not thinking about America or China or the Middle East or Russia or whatever.
Right.
I'm thinking about like this whole home that we're all living in. And it's not a competition who's going to have more people who are going to do more things and going to sell it to others. So I think I'm not an expert in the topic too, and I don't have solutions in hand and to tell people to have kids or not having kids at the moment. But there should be somehow to to manage the resources with the amount of humans are living on Earth right now. And we started with the same thing as we saying like, hey, there are too many filmmakers as much as there are many music makers and many people are producing, but there are too many MacBooks, so you can produce. And so I don't know how you make the balance, but it's something really big and slowing down, as Skunk mentioned. If you have 3 rooms and you have 7 kids, that doesn't make sense. That's just like not logical, right? And you can't say like, oh, if you talk to somebody else, like I could get punched in the face if I say this in the Middle East and say like, hey, you have 3 rooms. Why you have 10 kids? Well, fuck you. God will help me to. Well, no, that doesn't work this way, So I don't know. I think a little bit more of science education for people just to understand like basic knowledge and basic common sense on Earth.
If someone's really religious, because I have nothing against being religious and following your faith. But I do think like you at some point have to acknowledge all these other things. You have to acknowledge science. You have to acknowledge economics. You have to acknowledge a society you live in. And you can't just be like, well, I'm popping out 20 kids. And if they're sleeping on the floor eating, and they can't eat, that's somehow God. No, God, really? This is what your God wants? Like you must have something way fucked up in here to think that. Seriously.
God damn it.
Who does that?
Yeah, I think the majority of people, and the one thing that's kind of irritating for me is when people lump Christians or just religious people and say,
it's a cliche target.
Well, yeah, they beat them over the head about science, and it's like, well, I mean, you do realize that it was a Catholic priest that was discovered the Big Bang Theory.
No, nobody knows that, Vic.
Nobody knows that, right?
Because they don't want to. They don't want to know that. They don't care. Yeah. They don't care.
Louis Pasteur, Catholic.
They don't care.
I mean,
a good point you're making.
Yeah. I mean, from a Catholic perspective, the Catholic Church and science are not opposite ends. If the Catholic Church was there, they established hospitals, right? I mean, they've been in the forefront of scientific research. There's a lot of priests right now that are astronomers, right? So they may not have like priestly duties, saying mass every Sunday or daily. Maybe they do. I don't know. But, their job is like studying the stars, things like that, right? But I do think you're right. The subsidies for, and Jerry talked about this on our podcast, is when Lyndon Johnson signed into law the, what was it?
God damn it. I was for the great something.
Yeah. And Jerry talked about it, right? Like he talked about like the integration hurt the Black community, because what happened was you started, and I was watching a documentary about Walter Williams the other day, an economist, this dude whose grandparents were slaves. He was raised by a single mother. He got a stepdad. He was pretty radical back in the day, more of a Malcolm X type guy, not a Martin Luther King type guy. But then he got older. He got into the workforce. He started, kind of like, oh, this is how everything works. Right. And so he became he just recently died too. That's why I was watching the documentary. But, he was talking about, when you tax something, there's less of it, right? Because if you're going to tax people for having something, people are eventually going to get weaned off of that. But when you subsidize something, it's going to grow. Right. So in the 60s, what happened is when they started subsidizing, and Jerry talked about this, like, subsidizing, the Black community was predominantly, I think it was like 80%, 2-parent households, right? After that act passed that Johnson passed, it was like, couldn't have, it had something to do with like single parents subsidizing them for kids. And it's just, I think that's kind of where
I think we did talk about how it's very ass backwards, right? You're getting incentives for irresponsible behavior, basically. And then these guys, maybe they go to jail for unrelated reasons. That doesn't help the mother. It doesn't help the family. And so now you're actually almost giving incentives that, well, it's okay if he's not there. You're actually tearing these, you're contributing to the desecration of the family unit and I feel like whether that's whether you want to make that a religious argument or not, I don't even think it has to be a religious argument. I think that's just healthy for a society to have that sort of unit, right?
2-parent,
and raise a child,
And that was the big backlash for the BLM organization, right? Not the sentiment, but the actual official organization is they pulled stuff right out of the Communist Manifesto. And, they wanted to get rid of the nuclear family structure. It was recent until people started noticing that, then they pulled it off. But there's a lot of stuff on there that kind of followed that mentality. And even, even they came out and said, hey, we're trained Marxists and things. Oh, anyway, not to go down that rabbit hole, but
well, their guys is really easy right now because everyone's all riled up, and it's really easy to get behind a sentiment that is the correct sentiment. Mm-hmm. So I don't think people are interested into digging into who might actually be behind that particular moniker, unfortunately. Whereas on the far right now, but because of a great many factors, but rightfully so. I think we can throw Trump under the bus and say because of some really failed leadership and irresponsible choices on his part, the far right is the ones that are significantly under fire, rightfully so.
Emboldened,
And so I think it's just a disaster.
The QAnons.
Yeah, it's a disaster for any rational thinking conservative and Republican. It's a disaster. I mean, their party has just been shit on even more than usual, and I think Trump helped it happen. Yeah, and you got these radical QAnon morons. I mean, the average person's not going to stand behind that, just the way the average person's not going to stand behind the Marxists. So at the end of the day, it's not really about these people. It's about the deception of following something that you don't see what it is until it is. The right's too stupid to do that. The left has been a lot more savvy. And when I say right and left, of course, I'm speaking of the radicals, the progressive. I'm not talking about normal, people with values on either side. Yeah. I know what I was going to say. Speaking of the, extreme liberals, I don't forget who it was, and it's something that stuck with me that I heard years ago. Some fucking idiot said, probably Tipper Gore. We haven't thrown her under the bus in a while. Fuck. I was thinking about Tipper Gore earlier today in regards to freedom of speech. I was actually thinking about this. I was talking to my dad. It's his birthday. It's also Martin Luther King's birthday, so we'll acknowledge that. Speaking of great leaders and unifiers, although it won't be when this airs, but it is while we're talking. So, Martin, I was talking to my dad for a while today, and I cannot keep a thought back and forth. Anyway, I'll get to the point.
You said liberal said something.
It just made me really mad because this lady one time said something about someone said something about capital punishment, right? And we're talking about heinous motherfuckers, dude. I'm sorry for not having a bleeding heart about a rapist I'm sorry. Fuck off, man. I just, God damn it, that shit pisses me off. If we want to get religious about it, maybe it's not my right to make that. Maybe it's not any human's right. Okay, there's an argument you can have, but Anywho, some annoying lady goes, this is the dumbest thing I've almost heard anyone say, and I've said a lot of dumb shit. She goes, someone said something about capital punishment, and she goes, oh yeah, or they were making a pro-life argument, right? And she goes, oh, well, might as well just let him get older and then kill him with the electric chair. You dumb bitch. One person hasn't even been born and had a right to life, and the other one's a heinous criminal. That's apples and oranges. What the fuck?
Yeah.
That was one of the dumbest things I've ever heard somebody say. Just had to get that off my chest.
No,
I wish I knew who said it so I could be like, this dumb bitch.
I mean, for me, the whole... from the political standpoint, I'll just quit talking about politics here, but
sorry, Omar.
Sorry, Omar. I mean, for me, it's,
no, man,
the organization plan. Yeah. The Planned Parenthood organization was founded by Margaret Sanger. And, one of her missions in life was to, abort minorities. Right. They never talk about that.
They never talk about that. And they never talk about what Joe Biden did, crime bill.
Yeah.
It's water under the bridge,
And up until recently, they kind of I think they saw that, right? Because that was what the pro-life organizations kept talking about. And so they've recently distanced themselves from talking about Margaret Sanger because she's the pinnacle, right? She's the person that they put up on the mantle on who to look to, or at least up until recently. But, I mean, historically, I think those places have been mostly located in poorer areas in cities, right? So more minority populated areas of cities. And so, yeah, I mean, the whole big thing with that is that, they talk about the NRA and how the NRA is killing people, right? Mm-hmm. People kill people, not organizations. But, meanwhile, tax dollars are going to organizations like Planned Parenthood, right? So, I mean, I don't want my tax dollars going.
And when you start talking about, when you really want us to talk about it and actually take the time to think about it and what it is, and it's gross, aborting, it's gross.
Oh, absolutely.
And I mean, it's shouldn't, hey, man, I hate to even bring this up. I know there's been a lot of girls, very unfortunate. There's been a lot of girls, more than we'd ever care to know about or want to think about, that have had abortions, have been raped, have been molested, all kinds of horrible things,
Yeah.
And sometimes those things are synonymous and sometimes they're not, or sometimes they lead to, think of how psychologically damaging. I want to think back and it's really, it's fucking Mitch, whatever. Yeah. But think about like some of these people. I mean, I also have a heart where I realize I feel really bad for some people I've known and even dated where there was that trauma. Mm-hmm. How do you get through that? I feel like when you've been through something like that, it's the kind of, I don't want, this is not a good analogy, but the gateway, right? I mean, it can set you on a sort of path, and maybe those things are more likely to happen to someone who's dealt with that. But I mean, I know but it is disturbing, and mistakes happen. I hate to even call it a mistake, right? But when you start getting into an abortion or whatever, maybe the circumstances, I feel like there are times it's got to be heartbreaking for most people. But when if you've had 3 or 4 abortions, dude, that's really fucked up. At that point, you are doing, like you said, now you're just treating human life like it's expired, fucking queso. Like, what the fuck, man?
You should read a book about Kermit Gosnell, I think is the dude's name. He was a provider in Philadelphia, poor neighborhood, black community, and people would go to the clinic, and this guy made bank. He was like a millionaire, and people would go in there. I mean, they didn't know any better, right? They just thought it was birth control.
Yeah, a lot of
one lady,
education.
One lady had like 7 or 8 abortions, right? But I mean, I can't imagine it being easy for anybody to go in there and make that choice. Not at all. I mean, I have a lot of sympathy for folks that think that is an option. From a scientific medical standpoint, I know that there's been studies shown to where there's high, if you go through that process, you have a higher risk of different cancers. So I've recently learned that. So I don't think that's something that either they know about and they don't disclose it, or maybe they don't know about, but it's been a trend lately.
Well, what's your thought then on, the argument that it's a woman's body, a woman's right? Like, what would your retort to that argument be as a pro-life?
Well, it's 2 distinct bodies, right? Because it's 2 strands of DNA that make a unique DNA pattern to form a new person. So it's another life in there that's not,
not your body at that point would be your
not your body at that point. Right. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, that's kind of one way I look at it. The other thing that I always have to ask is, what about the father? What if there's somebody who wants, guy who wants it to be adoption option?
Or it does suck. It does suck.
What if the guy wants to have a kid, right? And I mean, I know people complain about the patriarchy and toxic masculinity, which I think are just, I think it's just BS, honestly. Granted, there's going to be dudes out there that are total assholes, but women are assholes too, right? So you can't blame everything on patriarchy.
I hate that chauvinistic crap. I mean, people are, there's a track record, but that's kind of like I said. I mean, are you really going to just say that the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence is not valid because of the different time of history that the forefathers lived in? They had good ideas and principles which have been amended and served us well for the most part. So it's like you can't go, well, all men are evil because, well, the white man did this once upon a time. Well, not us, not me, not neighbor, So that's always a bullshit argument. You can never lump sum anybody. Omar's just bailed on this podcast. He's had enough.
No.
God damn, sorry, Omar. We just kind of came in here.
No, man, totally. I mean, I'm enjoying hearing your ideas. No, I love it. I totally love it, man.
We should have just called this The View and had you as our guest, and we just shit all over you. There's nothing in this world worse than being a conservative and going on The View. I don't even know why they do it. Like, what's wrong with this people? It's like they want to be like, how this is going to pan out,
Well, yeah, because usually you have like somebody like Donald Trump Jr. that shows up there and he just starts punching them in the face, and then they come back with they come back and they try to. I mean, they're like, it's like watching 2 old people try to box and they just miss each other. That's what The View is.
I think the bottom line is they're all disconnected from anything anyway, regardless.
Absolutely.
Speaking of Donald Trump Jr., man, I mean, Trump has just been a disaster, and I don't think it's pretty hard to argue that at this point. But man, I don't know. I mean, call me a big old leaf-eating pussy. I'm just not a big hunter guy. Like, hey, I have nothing wrong. If you want to hunt, I don't like Ted Nugent at all, but I agree with his philosophy. If you own your own land, or Joe Rogan or these guys want to go out and shoot fucking elk and put pictures on your Instagram and eat a delicious home-cooked meal that you went out and, like, you talk about building with your own hands, 5-iron woodworks. You know, you talk about doing you talk about doing that kind of stuff, you know, and I have absolutely nothing against, and even in certain instances there's population control sometimes, you know, with certain species. Going out hunting, eating the game you've killed, sharing with your neighbor, that's wonderful. I have no problem with that. It's certainly,
that's what I would be into it for.
But what sport hunting is disgusting to me, and I hate it. And Donald
but
Trump,
you see, Skunk, some people are some people are just sensitive about hunting. Sorry about that. Yeah, but what I say is, some people are sensitive about hunting as much as you're sensitive about abortion. You know, so it's all about the way you look at it and what
it is, how you look at it, and I understand that. Where I was going with this, and then please, by all means, speak. I just, the whole sport, like, I saw him and he's talking on something, and there's goddamn moose heads and shit in the background or whatever the fuck, right? And look, that's fine too. I mean, as long as something's not extinct and you want to go shoot it and eat it, fine. But these motherfuckers that go out and shoot elephants, and I cannot get behind that, man. It's just so despicable to me. It's I don't see. Vic, do you know any reason why that's okay or appealing? I can't wrap my head around it.
Trophy hunting, no. I mean, especially if you're shooting elephants and trying to harvest ivory, that's illegal,
it's fucked
right?
Up, man.
And so you have ex like military guys going out and training these anti-poacher groups, you know, in the Horn of Africa or somewhere in Africa, right? To counter, to basically fend off poachers. Omar said population control, right? So, you know, if you have an invasive species, like here, feral hogs are bad, right? In Texas. And I was actually trying to explain this one time to a vegan she was like super vegan, so just fill in the blanks there, right? So I was talking about, like, you know, Texas, we do go hog hunting. I think we actually got into gun control, and somebody was saying, well, why do you need an AR-15? I'm like, well, if you live in Texas, there's feral hogs running all over the place, and you go and, you know, that's a good weapon to go hunting with, is shoot all these feral hogs. And they're like, well, you're going to shoot the pigs, and that's so sad. I'm like, well, no. They're destroying farmers' crops, ranchers'
talking to
land.
Paris Hilton here?
Yeah, well, I mean, I couldn't get through, right?
Sure,
so I mean, because
so you won't be able to eat your vegan food if we don't hunt that.
Yeah, they're eating your vegan food. Exactly. That's what I should have said.
Yeah.
That's what I should have said.
Hey, Omar, where do you stand on some of this stuff? What are your thoughts? Are you vegetarian, vegan, or what is your? I mean, seriously, or what are your thoughts on hunting and all that kind of stuff?
I eat all kinds of meats, but I don't know. I don't have. I don't stand anywhere. Like, if you think hunting is okay for you, then you have the right to hunt. If you don't think it's okay, then you don't hunt. Mm-hmm. I mean, I eat meats, and I think killing is killing. Whether you kill the cow or you kill a pig and using a rifle, or you use electricity or whatever you use, you know.
Well, hopefully in a humane, quick way. I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
No matter what, I don't have any desire to see anything.
Exactly, suffer, a humane, quick way that makes sense a little bit. Exactly, but I don't really go out and hunt myself in Texas. You know, if somebody offers me some deer's meat, I will eat it. I'm not saying no. I love meat, and I eat proteins every day. So. But as I mentioned before, it's just a sensitive topic, as much as abortion, as much as birth control, as much as any other of the issues that we're talking about. And it's not only in America, but it's all over the place now. You know, veganism is getting all over the place, and people are talking about it. And it's like, oh shit, I just stopped eating meat because I care about animals, not for any other reasons. You know, and I see that, I understand that. You know, people have their own reasons to think about things, based on their backgrounds and frames of references and whatever clicks on their brains and whatever, I don't know. There's always a backstory for everything, and everybody got their own reasons for everything.
Well, nobody wants
vegans and CrossFit.
Yeah, nobody wants to, I don't get any joy out of killing things. I just don't. I mean, maybe a human that's maybe it's easier to say than if you actually did it, but there's a part of me that just feels like, if I could shoot a serial killer in the head, I would do it. And be fine with it because you're a piece of shit and you should be gone, right? So, I mean, maybe most people aren't as fucked up as me, but I feel like I could shoot.
But it hasn't, in the human being's history, it hasn't been a long time ago when humans were sacrificing other humans for some rain or for some.
Yeah, but I'm not talking
season.
about an innocent virgin. Right. I'm talking about horrible people. I mean, I wouldn't just.
It's not even a long time ago.
I hate. Yeah. Why do innocent?
You can't even find virgins now. Come on.
Yeah, there's a good point. Virgins is a thing of the past. Like, yeah, I'm a vegan.
I was gonna say you'd like to kill a bag of peanuts while you're watching porn.
I'll kill a bag of peanuts while I'm killing my cock. Yeah, like, dude.
Ooh.
So anyway, I'm really just out of line on this podcast. But so I think my point was, like, some people like to go hunting and they enjoy the sport of hunting, and that's fine. I don't feel like I would to me personally, I just would not get any joy out of killing a deer. I wouldn't enjoy it at all. Like, I would still eat that motherfucker, But I mean, the thing is like people can get all like really sensitive about.
Well, Skunk, do you eat fish?
Yeah, and I mean, the point I was going to make is the actual food industry
is there an easy way to kill a fish
and killing something yourself? What do you mean? I just don't like killing things. I'll just go buy them at the supermarket. And some people
is there an easy way to kill a fish?
Club it. It's a spear. I like to go old school. I like to wear a little thong and like whittle a fucking wooden spear and just jab that fucker in the river, man.
Like,
boo. Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a meat eater. Honestly, I eat less pork than anything, and I don't know. It's a personal choice. I'm not saying that I don't, and I wouldn't. I still eat pork. I just tend to eat more. I think eating, the dumber the animal, the less issue I have with eating it. And chickens are pretty dumb, as far as I can tell.
What about a black bear? Would you eat black bear meat?
No, because I love bears.
Yeah?
Bears are the shit, dude. I love bears, man. I used to want to be a bear when I was a kid. Part of me probably still does. The only instance I would kill an animal like that, I would never get any joy out of shooting an animal like that. The only time I would is if like I was being like my life was in danger or I was trying to protect someone I loved or something. And if it was someone I didn't like, oh well, I guess you're gonna be eaten by a black bear, motherfucker.
Who's faster than a bear? Not that guy.
Didn't you go to Montana with your buddy so-and-so?
What's the worst you had in your life?
Yeah, he got eaten by a black bear. He wasn't really my buddy, FYI. What's that? What'd you say, Omar?
I said, what's the worst you have had before? Like as a meat, and you think it's like, what kind of meat that you have had before, and you think it's like it was totally wrong, or you think like, I shouldn't have ate that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of bullshit, right? It's total perspective. Because we get attached to certain animals, we deem that wrong, and we deem others not wrong. I mean, it could be argued that. So I think that's kind of a typical human flaw. I mean, I eat the standard stuff that's standard in this country, like beef and chicken, maybe some pork, fish. That's about it. I haven't really had a lot of exotic game or anything. I mean, a deer, nothing too extravagant that I can think of.
Let's see. I've had lamb, goat.
Oh, lamb. Yeah, lamb's good. I eat a lot of that in England, actually. They eat a lot of that over there.
I actually liked, so I had lamb chops in Oklahoma one time, and they were okay. They were kind of still gamey, but I went to Toronto and went to, is it a Greek Mediterranean place? The lamb was phenomenal. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It was, it was spicy. It was great. I was like, dude, I will eat like 50 lambs right now. This is awesome.
Slaughter them all.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the thing. You're like, oh, it's so sad. God damn, this is delicious. That's the thing about being a meat eater, man. As soon as I throw that stuff on the grill, I'm like, I didn't kill it. I didn't have to see that. I didn't have to go through that. But man, some meat on the grill.
I do want to try. I want to try black bear. Yeah.
God damn you, Vic! You monster! You monster! You know what I'll say though? I do eat some of the vegan meats and stuff, just because, like, you know, my fiance has eaten
testosterone went down.
So, but dude, some of that fake meat's pretty fucking delicious and less messy and greasy and fatty.
Soy riso.
I don't know. I'll get it out of my freezer if you want to. But there's, in other words, there are some good options. What's that?
He said, eating the spice, you're not eating the meat itself.
Well, whatever the hell. Yeah, it's not. Yeah. No, you're making a good point, because you're right. I just put sauce and salt and pepper and condiments on everything, you know. But if you make a steak or something right, you don't need. That's how you know you made a good steak. You shouldn't have to put shit on your steak. If you had to put A1 sauce on your steak, you did not make a proper steak. You fucked it up. Yeah.
So you talked about like vegan meat. Impossible Burger from Hop Dotties is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's good.
That's great.
Dude, Hop Dotties is pretty legit, man. They opened up a I don't know if it's there's one I think on William Cannon that's called like Little Dottie or something. Have you know what I'm talking about? It's like a mini.
No, I didn't know that.
Baller, dude. Yeah, and you don't have to stand in the line for 1,000 hours to get a burger. It's awesome. Yeah. I love that place, man. They're good. No, there's some really good substitutes. There's I want to say it's called Arlo's.
There's a place, Cheer Up Charlie's. They have the food truck in.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's some good substitutes, man, for sure. And that's fine. Having options is cool.
But I went vegan for about 5-6 months, actually. So I hunting for vegan places around town. So I did about straight 6 months. But it was.
How did you feel?
Lost a lot of weight, and it's always. I wasn't happy at all. Sorry, there's a delay in the sound, but when I got your question, I was already.
Yeah, I know plenty of vegans, and I have nothing against it. I know plenty of vegans that I think that seem totally healthy, right?
Yeah.
You know, Mr. Nub and his wife are vegan. I've known several, but like, you know, it was really funny one time. I think a lot of times with people, it's not so much about what you choose or don't choose. It's about how. If you're, it's about the big smug fart cloud over San Francisco, right? It's like, it's about how smug you are in those choices, especially in a quote unquote free society, right? Don't be a dick. If you want to be vegan, that's cool, but don't be a fucking asshole when I eat a steak. And I don't think most people are. I think most people are really cool, you know, but those smug, I remember like, it was just really funny. I remember watching an episode of like Chopped or something one time, and there was this lady on there, and she was all about her vegan this and vegan that, and the bitch was gray, and it was like, you don't look healthy. You don't got a good color tone going there.
Oh man.
Oh my god. Interesting.
Yeah. Anyway,
man, we kind of got sidetracked on this one, didn't we?
Do we even talk about? I mean, we talked about film for 15 seconds.
Right.
We're just talking about David. We were talking about film a little bit, but I don't
talked about David Lynch for a little bit, and then
yeah.
Tarantino, and
I feel like it's yeah.
I mean, I actually wanted to start talking about like why Israeli girls are just hot. Gosh.
Is it Mia what's her name? Kulis? What's that?
She's Ukrainian.
Oh, she's Ukrainian. Maybe it's just because she's Jewish. I thought she was Israeli. Natalie Portman? Maybe I'm just thinking of Jewish girls.
Yeah. Natalie Portman is. Yeah, she's Israeli, I think.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's a thing around all over the world. Like you go to like when I come to the Middle East here and you talk to people, and everybody will be like, "Oh my God, you got all the hot chicks in America." You know, and you go to America, oh, you just came back from Israel, from the Middle East. Oh, really? You got all the hot chicks in the Middle East. It's like, I'm like, I mean, hot chicks are all over the place. You know, I think they're decent human beings nowadays. I think we're kind of, people are taking care of themselves more than any time else. You know, we know how to eat, and we have more understanding of our physiques and how to treat ourselves well, you know. So I think we're getting cuter. We're getting hotter. Not us.
It seems like women started getting hot in the 20th century.
Yeah.
Because if you look at those pictures from like the 1800s, you're like, ooh, damn, Lincoln, what the fuck, bro? You know what I mean? Like, Mary Todd was not really a looker.
Yeah. So woman can be anywhere.
Because I've ran into, well, and maybe, yeah, I ran into some Israeli girls when I went to Las Vegas for work, and they were very aggressive.
Yeah.
They were super hot.
Like
I was
flirty?
Like, yeah. Like,
oh, those are the best type of girls.
Oh, I know. I was like, man, I gotta go to Israel.
Yeah,
you should, man. Damn, you should make a trip. Shit, yeah, dude. You should make a trip. It's a beautiful place, you know.
Crash
it's
Omar's pad.
Anytime, buddy. If I'm still here, but it's a beautiful place to visit. Like in the Middle East, if I would recommend, I would say Israel, Jordan, Dubai. These are 3 countries that you should definitely check out. I mean, Egypt used to be a fun place. Too.
Like
so much history.
That's something fascinating about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the museum, the pyramids. Then you have Petra there in Jordan.
Absolutely, right? Yeah. I did Petra about 4 years ago. I went to Petra and I met some people who were just still living in caves, and it's pretty fun. You're just walking around like 4,000 years buildings before Common Era. It's like, ooh, this is interesting, you know? Yeah. But as a culture, I think it's a little bit more aggressive culture, as you mentioned. You know, you meet some people if they are literally from the Middle East and they have lived their entire lives here. It's a little bit of an aggressive area. You know, it has been through a lot, and people are more open when they talk about things. Like it's okay to tell someone like, "Oh shit, you look fat today." So this is something that you can hear every day. Like seriously, you know, when I got here, like, you know, you're in the airplane, like if you're coming from Texas, you got to fly at least for about like 8 hours in Texas, and then you jump in another plane in New York, and then you land in like Tel Aviv or Amman, and you're totally exhausted. Like you're just tired. Your eyes looks different, and you haven't been eating well and all that. And people literally tell you like, oh, did you just take cocaine or heroin, or you're sick? Like, or what's wrong with you? Like
why
literally
are you gray?
Yeah. Like literally somebody will tell you what is wrong with you. You look so sick. So this is something that you can hear around here if you like, you know, but I don't know. People talk in different ways, you know.
Not just, you're beautiful.
Yeah, no, not at all.
If they were that blunt in here in the States, I think there'd be a lot of crying.
God forbid.
Yeah.
A lot.
I think we'll be used to it.
I'm a little overweight. I need to go to my safe space.
Yeah, you're either overweight or you're skinny or
thick skin, right?
You know? Yeah, thick skin.
I think, okay. You know what? I think the best way to be is, if you can, is to be honest. To not, I don't think you should ever try to deliberately hurt someone's feelings, and to be tactfully honest is usually a good. Some people just like to be mean. I think that's shitty. You know?
Someone shouldn't be hurt in the first place when somebody tells you what is the scenario is. I don't know. I think it's okay at some point, and it's okay to not say it, and it's okay to say it. Like I don't give a fuck.
I mean, it depends. You know, if you're going for the. You know, I think you should be. I think it's just, you know, you should try to be kind, but don't sugarcoat everything and just bend over and suck everyone's dick just because you feel like you have to, you know?
Yeah.
Especially if someone else is being an asshole. I've been trying to work on that myself. I know I come off like a gigantic asshole on this podcast, but I'm really not. I'm really kind of too nice. I think that's why I react so much and like this, because I've been really nice to a lot of people, and sometimes they'll shit on you and you're like, Jesus Christ, what the hell, you know? So
you know, another thing
like
about
things in life, right? Balance.
Yeah, another thing about the Middle East around here, like and compared to the customer service in America, when you call somebody on the phone in America, it's like they're just trying to do anything to help you at some point, and you always feel like you need more. But you don't get any of that around here. Like people just like, you would call the phone company and like they don't care about you. It's not like they don't care. They just do what they have to do, and that's it. Like they don't try to make it look like, oh, I'm just right here to do whatever I can do to make you happy today. No, this is not the scenario. Like you will walk into a bank or you will walk into a restaurant. It's like nobody gives a fuck about you.
Bullshit formalities.
Yeah, it's like, well, okay. Yeah, you find a table and you just sit. You know, you don't need a host.
That's actually healthy to a certain
degree. Like, you don't need someone at the door
Yeah.
to seat you. Like, you just sit, and that's it. You know.
Yeah, no, you shouldn't. You shouldn't feel like the fucking world evolves around you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Balance.
Less entitlement that way.
Less entitlement.
I would think.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, the worst thing that ever happened over here. Well, lots of bad things have happened throughout our history, but in recent times, I think that the Real World happened on MTV and Jerry Springer and all that daytime stuff, and then Paris
Jenny
Hilton
Jones
and fucking the Kardashians, and it's just been.
It's a train wreck,
What kind
man.
of? I mean, it's like that South Park episode with Paris Hilton. That was pretty brilliant, you know, where all the little girls wanted to be
Butters.
whores because their idol was a whore, you know. Yeah,
She
man.
bought Butters from his parents. Yeah.
It's just shitty. You know, how can you expect people to be, you know, functioning logical adults when everything they've had is just some, you know, mirrored falsity that's of a, you know what I mean? It's like none of that's even real. It's not grounded in reality, and you're mimicking or striving to be these things that don't mimic, that, you know, emulate real life in any sense. And then all they do is teach you terrible lessons. You know, they teach you vanity's cool, you know, all about me, fuck everyone else, you know.
But don't you think that we're teaching each other? Like, who would say they? Like, who are they?
We want to
like,
start banning shit.
Like, who are they when you say they? You know, like, I think we're teaching each other. Like, if you look at the social media and you look at these platforms, like, we're creating that, you know. But usually, like, people will say, like, oh, they're trying to teach you this, they're trying to teach you that, they're trying to create a certain way of look. But we do this. Like, we're the models. We're the people who uses Instagram. We're the people who uses Facebook. We create these platforms. We post on TikTok and all that shit. So I think it's not they.
And I know I have an extremist view on this, and I even bought the Kill the Kardashian shirt and everything. But like, I you know, for me, I remember I dated this girl for a long time, and it was a big problem. And maybe I sound like I'm, you know, over the top or something, but she, you know, loved these reality shows and watched the Kardashians and stuff. And she's like, oh, it's just mindless television. Okay, I guess I should accept that. But I'm kind of like, but it's not. There's messages there. Now, look, I don't want to censor it, because then you're getting a whole nother, you know, we go down the Twitter road and all this, but like, it's like, man, dude, like I don't know. It's just like, what's the value in that? It's much better to watch I don't even know what I'm talking about at this point. I just need therapy. Omar, I think you've made some great points. Vic, I really think you eloquently stated your points. I appreciate it.
I'm looking forward to the documentary, because that is a more real, tangible look at life. So
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to that one.
It is, man. It is. Did you check out the
Izzy Cox documentary?
The trailer. Yeah. We have a little trailer out there. Please check it out. Yeah. Okay. Just look up Izzy Cox Fighting the Devil. That's what we call it.
Okay, so where can people go to see that, Omar?
The trailer is, just look up YouTube Izzy Cox Fighting the Devil official trailer, and you'll see the official trailer right there. It's and awesome. It's kind of will give you an idea of what we're talking about and what is the story about.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, and the name, actually, we get a lot of backlash on the name. It's Izzy Cox Fighting the Devil, and it's nothing has to do with the actual devil that people would think and imagine. The devil is a bad relationship. The devil is drugs. The devil is a road trip and a car broke down. Right. The devil is being out of money and
I feel like that's a great metaphor cancer. For almost. I feel like Fighting the Devil is that's a great title for anyone's life.
Mm-hmm.
It's the constant struggle of being a human, you know. I think it's a great title. I remember being, you know, indoctrinated and silly like that once upon a time when I was like, oh my God, Iron Maiden said the word devil, so they're Satanists, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great
I have
album.
exhausted myself tonight.
Did you? Did we
Omar,
talk
this
a lot?
was great, man.
Man, it was great, and I think I'm so ready for some sleeping. It's 6 a.m. already.
I don't know what you did. That's code for ready for some Pornhub and peanuts.
Yeah. So good for some food. Actually, we talked about meat, and I'm kind of like I'm just gonna dig on the fridge and find some good steak to eat right now. Yeah.
That's
there we go.
That's
Absolutely,
the worst. That's
man.
the worst thing you can do, and that's what I do every night in regards to diet and health. I just fucking eat. Like, we get done with the podcast, it's like midnight. I'm like, all right, fucking nachos covered in beef. Let's do this.
Yeah, I need some protein, absolutely. But man, it's a pleasure, dude. I'm so excited that we get a chance to do it. And I had a little bit of anxiety last night when you texted me, and I got your email, and I was like, holy shit, it's only 2 hours, so I had to get up. But I think I had enough sleep now, and if I eat a good meal, I'll be able to sleep again, and life goes on.
Yeah. We really appreciate you making the time, especially being across the world in a totally different time zone in the middle of the morning and everything, you know.
Absolutely.
So appreciate it, man. It's been a lot of fun talking with you. Sorry that I ranted and raved, but I think it'll make for good entertainment for somebody.
Maybe for us, for ourselves, man. We'll watch it.
Please hit me up when you're back in Austin. I absolutely want to be at your premiere when that happens, dude. It's been very, very cool seeing you do that, running into you, meeting you. And thanks again so much for doing the podcast, man.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure, buddy. Thanks for having me. Makes me feel home.
All right, bro. Don't go anywhere just because this is a new platform, and I want to see what's going on with the audio once we stop recording. But
Indeed.
Victor Ramos, Skunk Manhattan, signing out of here. I think this was episode 32. Omar Mousa. Yep. Until next time, take care. Bye.
Thank you. Good night.
That concludes another episode of the podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Check out Omar's work on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, where you can find the teaser and trailer for the Izzy Cox documentary, Fighting the Devil. Have a great day.